I know I'm wearing a white and light purple shirt, so I can't go too high or. No, it is. Wait, what'd you say? Oh, okay.
The only time I'm going to blatantly interrupt you is when it's
all good. So good. Ever heard of the actor Aidan Quinn?
Maybe I recognize the face.
Maybe. You know, he's in a new movie. He's going to join us for YouTube bonus content at 9:04.
Oh, I need to tell you, I have to run like immediately after.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
By the way, Jay Parker said I needed to teach you how to use the remote
Yes,
kit.
we do need to do that
Okay. Do you need me to do that
today.
today?
Yeah, because it's tomorrow. Do you have free time later? If you got to run immediately, can you? What are you doing this afternoon?
Today was a day where I'm like catching up on a lot of shit.
I'm doing the show on location tomorrow.
And so am I doing remote?
No, you're going to be here. I'm going to be on location. So you're going to flip it over to the you know how to do it with the Comrex and all that shit?
I believe so. I
Yeah.
have to actually put that into practice yet. But I've been told how to do it.
Should I see about bringing Chuck in the morning?
If you think that'd make you feel better.
I would like to know for 100% certain that you can, because I don't want 606 to roll around and it'd be like, oh, hey, yeah, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right, so you have to blast out immediately at 9. All right.
Blue collision at 6:11, and I can give you. Let me just think about it for a sec, and I can update you if I can stay. I can push it back a little bit, or if I can come back later this afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't have to be immediately. I'm here till about 1, and then I'm going over there to set up. So, but tomorrow morning concerns me more. Knowing I'm on the air is what's my biggest concern.
Is it the Comrex, or is it just a video setup?
It's both.
Okay, I've been taught how to do the Comrex setup, but
I know the Comrex a lot better than the video.
I can teach you video then.
Hey, as soon as I'm on, can you run downstairs and go let Franz in? 606 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and I am pumped for this Wednesday show. We got a full lineup for you today. Where do we start? Let's start. Well, let's go ahead and start in chronological order. Guest list, 635. Attorney Franz Borghardt. I'm sorry, 625. I got to get used to that. Until it's actually in print on the rundown. Until I get a new crop of rundowns ready to roll. 625, legally served. Attorney Franz Borghardt will be in the house. Cynthia Perkins' attorney requesting a change of venue. Livingston Sweetheart wants to move because social media has been mean to them. Death threats and the like. What does it take to get a change of venue? Does this particular case live up to that? We'll talk about it with Attorney Franz Borghardt and Legally Served. Got a couple of other legal topics brewing for that segment, but that's kind of the big one right now. I mean, the Perkins case, Dennis and Cynthia Perkins, those two have been all over the news, and that kind of lends back to the point, right? That kind of lends back to the idea of why they want a change of venue. In our 7 o'clock hour, Stephen Privat is an LSU student, and he was on Jeopardy last night, the Jeopardy College Championship last night, One in the first round moves on to the semifinals. Stephen will join us in studio at 7:15. Then we will have Congressman Garret Graves at 7:35. D.C. Current comes to you every single week. Actually, twice a week. Once with Congressman Carter, once with Congressman Graves. In our 8 o'clock hour, so yesterday we were talking with Scott Kirkpatrick from Crisis, Capital Region Industry for Sustainable Infrastructure Solutions, about the new bridge. And I wanted some follow-up on that, some follow-up on the discussion, because one of the big points with the new bridge is how do you narrow down to just one location? And there will be some sort of equation, some sort of math problem, I guess, that balances overall volume on the bridge versus cost. But there's so much more that goes into it than that. State Senator Rick Ward is going to join us at 8:15 to talk about that, and we will round out the guest list at 8:40 with actor and comedian Tommy Davidson. Tommy's back on tour. Comedy is back up and running. Live shows are back up and running. Tommy's on tour with Mike Epps. If you're like, why do I know that name? Think all the way back to the early 90s. He was on In Living Color. Who was he from In Living Color? Well, he wasn't a Wayans and he wasn't Jim Carrey. So that narrows it down to Tommy Davidson and David Allen Greer. There's also an Ace Ventura 2 and a movie called Strictly Business. Looking forward to this. Oh, and we got YouTube bonus content as well while we're talking about actors. Actor Aidan Quinn going to join us at 9:04 this morning for a little YouTube bonus content. So that's your rundown for the day. Plus, we'll have plenty more of top stories and trending, the outside in, this day in history, and the like. We're almost due up for our first break. In our next segment, we're going to be talking about the Saints' new head coach, Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen is now officially official as the Saints' new head coach. Introductory press conference was yesterday. We will have some audio from that press conference. Also, in our sports segment, last night, the LSU basketball Tigers began to right the ship on the road at Texas A&M and took it to them. Now, it would be very easy to look at the final score and be a little bit upset because Tigers were up by like 20 at one point, didn't end up winning by 20. But nonetheless, a win is a win is a win, especially in conference play. Take it, come home, build off of it. Tell you what, we'll dive into both of those things in our next segment. Going to break here in just a minute. Before we take that break, let me tell you about the folks over at Complete. Yes, I'm breaking a little early. I want to leave room for both. Let me tell you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. 2 locations, Plank Road in Zachary, Perkins in Baton Rouge. 768-9898 is the phone number, 768-9898. Or CompleteCollision.com. Check out CompleteCollision.com. A lot you can learn about at CompleteCollision.com. You want to read up on how they have a lifetime warranty on all repairs. Want to get some online estimates? They've got a feature on their website that takes you right to it. Or you can read about the iCar Gold Class certification. An iCar Gold Class certification puts you in the top 15% of body shops nationwide. Look, your car might look the same when it's repaired after an accident, but it's not always safe to drive. How do you know the difference? Well, Complete Collision has that iCar Gold Class certification, which means they've been trained on how to see hidden damage that you might not see. They're able to find the hidden damage. They are able to know what can be repaired and what needs to be replaced, and that is a huge difference. Check them out online, CompleteCollision.com. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Quick break. When we come back, we'll hear a little bit from Dennis Allen's press conference, and LSU basketball picks up a win on the road last night. It's next. I don't see any audio on LSU. How long's this break? 25. Yeah. How much? 3? Okay.
Good morning, YouTube. So the kind of morning I'm having, ready? Pour myself a cup of coffee in the last coffee cup that's in the little black container thing.
Yeah.
Somebody had poked a hole in it.
Are you serious?
It's draining over there in the trash can.
Oh my god. That's the kick in the pants that everyone loves to have right at the beginning of their morning.
It's okay. Didn't get a lot on me.
That's good.
How am I doing?
20 seconds.
There should be a Wade cut in there.
A Wade cut?
Just as Wade in the
Yeah.
folder, yeah. Got it.
You want the Allen
Dennis
cut?
Allen for stuff first.
2, 5, and 6.
Yeah. 2 is about following. What are the titles?
Following Sean, be yourself. No staff decisions made at this point. QB most important decision you make.
Okay. .615 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. LSU picks up a win on the road last night, 76-68 over Texas A&M. We will get to that in just a minute. First, though, Dennis Allen named as the new head football coach down in New Orleans. Kind of monumental when you think about it. It's been a while. It's been a minute since they've had a new football coach. Sean Payton has been the guy at the helm for some time now. We made a note of the time frame when Payton announced his retirement. Made a note of just how long it's been. For example, I have a daughter who is a freshman in high school. She has only seen one coach until yesterday. There has only been one coach at the helm until yesterday. I mean, it has been that long. Dennis Allen talks about how do you move into the role while acknowledging you're following a guy who was at the helm for more than a decade and a half, and in the meanwhile, do your own thing.
I think you learn from the experience of watching Sean, but at the end of the day, one thing I do know, okay, is that when you get put in a position like this, you have to do it your way, and you have to be yourself. And so, look, I'm going to come to work every day, and I'm going to be me, and I'm going to put my own little spin on it. But yet, man, there's a lot of things that we've done really, really well here, and I want to be able to continue those things, and I just want to be able to put my little spin on it.
He went on to say later on in the press conference, you don't fix what's not broken. And clearly, what the Saints have been doing is not broken. Now, as far as putting together his staff, who's going to stay in place? Who are they looking to replace? Well, I mean, he was just named to the gig, so not yet.
I don't really want to get into any specifics on that right now. I think that's something. Look, I just was informed yesterday that I was going to get the job. So, I mean, I think we may be 24 hours into this thing. So I think there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And I just would say, look, we got a talented staff, and I like a lot of the things that we've done.
Now, one of the things he is going to have to look at is quarterback. I mean, Jameis Winston was the quarterback for not even a full 7 games. You didn't get a full sample size from him. There are available quarterbacks, potentially Hall of Fame quarterbacks that are available. How do you navigate that road?
I think it's the most important decision that you make, and so that's going to be one of the first things that we do is we get together as a staff, as an organization, and evaluate that position, and then we'll make the best decision for this organization that we think is the right thing for us moving forward.
Moving from the Saints to LSU basketball, it was a win on the road last night. Not all of it was pretty, but it is probably more important to focus on the fact that it was a win. Coach Will Wade said as much after the game.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of stuff we've obviously got to get cleaned up, but the number one objective was we had to win. we had to win, and so we found a way to win. We found a way to get it done. At the end of the day, that was all that mattered. And certainly the turnovers were a major issue. The offensive rebounds giving up 52 points in the second half, all that. But at the end of the day, we hadn't won much lately, and we had to find a way to dig this out on the road.
Darius Days had 10. Brendan Murray had 14. Xavier Penson had 11, which is good to see him creeping towards that double digit and into the double digit column as Xavier Penson continues to get better. So will the Tigers. Tari Eason, 25 points, 12 boards on the night in just 26 minutes of play. Tigers will bring it back home. Hopefully turn that one win into a win streak as they will have host Mississippi State 7 p.m. Saturday night in the Maravich Assembly Center. LSU moves to 17-7 on the season. Texas A&M, for what it's worth, is at 15-9 right now, and I want to say their losing streak is now at 7. So, gross. But take it where you can get it, especially when it comes down to conference play, especially when you're looking at you don't have that much schedule left in order to get these wins, to stack up, to build that NCAA resume. Where they're at right now, I believe the bracketology going into last night still had them as like an 8 or a 9 seed in the tournament. So they're still in it. Here comes Fox Business. Too much running around. How are you this morning?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing all right.
Try to get a cup of coffee this morning. I was just telling your associate. Trying to get a cup of coffee this morning. Last cup in the thing. Somebody poked a hole in it.
And downstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Poured it up with coffee. It's draining in the trash can right now. It's great.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah.
By the way, I can stay after a little bit. I can do that.
Aiden Quinn? Okay. Cool. Good. And then I'll have Jay go with me over there in the afternoon to set it up.
It'd be better for both of us if I just push what I had back just a little bit rather than come back in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Just make more sense.
Wow. Illiterate. How long do I have? Shauna Banks is an idiot. The Long Island audit thing, that video we talked about last week, she's not happy. She's not happy that people have an opinion about it. Oh, what a moron. Yes, sir. It is time for Legally Served. It's time to welcome in attorney Franz Borghardt. What's happening?
Good morning, fellas. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday to you.
Here for you guys. Here for the listeners.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a great deal. We got a lot of ground to cover today.
Sure.
I know this feels like it's going to be a very cut and dry topic.
Okay.
But it's not. There are layers.
Like an onion?
Yes, like an onion.
Not like a cupcake, though.
No. Cupcakes don't have layers.
Gross.
Cynthia Perkins' attorney says it's time for a change of venue.
All right.
A former teacher charged in a disturbing child sex crimes case, along with her husband, a fired sheriff's deputy, is seeking to move her trial out of Livingston Parish. An attorney for Cynthia Perkins filed a motion Tuesday seeking a change of venue, arguing that the former school teacher would not get a fair trial in the parish due to pervasive media coverage, I guess that includes this segment, of her alleged crimes. I believe every juror that comes in here has read about this case and made some decision in one way or another, said Paul Woody Scott, Cynthia Perkins' attorney.
You went off the tracks on that one, buddy.
You got a friend in me. The publicity for this case. Oh God, I wasn't even thinking like that. Wasn't like a Beavis and Butthead thing. That was like a Toy Story thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You're trying really hard here.
The publicity for this case has been especially inflammatory, with comments across all media platforms consisting of insults, firm beliefs that the defendant is guilty, and an abundance of death threats.
Okay. So here's the law. You ready?
Yeah.
If the defense file or either side files a motion on venue, a change of venue shall be granted when the applicant proves that by reason of prejudice, big word, prejudice, existing in the public mind or because of undue influence, or that any other reason, a fair and impartial trial cannot be obtained in the parish where the prosecution is pending. So something is going on to where she cannot get a fair trial in the parish. That's the standard. In deciding whether to grant the change of venue or not, the court shall consider whether the prejudice, the influence, or other reasons are such that they will affect the answers of the jurors during voir dire or the testimony of the witnesses. So what we're talking about is, can you have a trial where people don't already know so much about the case that they've already made up their mind? That's the cut and dry, right?
Yes. Can you get a fair trial? Not does everyone know about what happened?
Right.
And
does the knowledge of the media or the knowledge from the media infiltrate the potential juror's brain such that he or she cannot put that information to the side, and that they can weigh the facts and to make a decision based on the facts and the facts in the courtroom only? You know, it's a tough. How do you measure that? What metric do you use to measure? Hey, I heard all this stuff in the news, but I can put that to the side and I can be fair and impartial. That's a tough thing to weed through. Now, what I can tell you what normally happens.
What?
Is we do what's called, at least here, in my high-profile cases, we've done what's called a media-oriented voir dire. Before you even get to jury selection on whether or not they're qualified to sit for the trial, you do a round of essentially, hey, who here, show of hands, who here has heard about this case, read about this case in the media? And then you have to individually talk to them to see what they know and whether or not they know too much.
Okay.
It takes more time.
Yeah. That shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, it just takes more time, but that's a solution. Now, this may be one that there really is a issue with venue. But as I told your esteemed colleague Richard Condon on the way up here in the elevator. We were talking. We hang out sometimes. I don't know where you would have a good fair venue.
We're going to get to that portion of it later. Let's walk down the process. We got a minute and a half till break. When it comes to, you said a media voir dire, how deep do you need to go on that? Because you're going to hear about this story from TV, from radio, and from print.
Well, from the internet. So during the actual trial, you're instructing the jurors to not look at any of those things, and you just got to rely on their swearing an oath that they're not going to do that. You really can't. There's no way of safeguarding that.
Well, but by the time the trial starts, isn't it already too late?
Well, but remember, there's always going to be a surge right before the trial. Jury trial starts this morning.
Yeah.
Witness sneezed in the middle of court. They talked about cupcakes. So there's going to be stuff that happens that jurors should not be reading about during the trial, and hopefully they don't.
Block out the noise, Ed Ogeron used to say.
So here's the thing. It's not a bad defense motion. If I were defending either one of these two individuals, I might file a similar motion.
Let's go ahead and take a break, check our news, traffic, weather. When we come back, I want to walk down the path of, number one, will this motion be successful? Number two, we need to take a look at, in today's internet age, is something like this even relevant? Where is the venue where you won't find out about this online? We'll break that down next. Here comes news. So that's where I want to go is if you're outside.
That's the new argument for the prosecution is, look, it's not like whatever the local Livingston Parish paper is, and if you're listening, what is the local? It's not the Sadvocate.
No, there's the Livingston Parish News, and there is the Advocate. There's both of them. There's two.
So you can get those publications probably anywhere, like you just suggested.
Everything's a .com. Is that you or me? That was you?
That was me.
Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo. Christy's feeling a lot better now.
I didn't know she was under the weather. What was wrong with her? COVID? She had the crud?
She did not have.
Keep getting on. If you had shingles, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
no offense. I'd be like, hey, dude, lay off the energy drinks. Get some rest.
Yeah, it's not a possibility. Livingston Parish News, they got an app without spam pop-ups. Yup. Morning, Eric. Morning, Renee. Morning, Clint, and everybody else who's in this morning. Slow on the comments this morning, huh? I mean, it's not like we're arguing about a horse-sized chicken today, so.
And what size chicken?
Horse. Okay, this was Monday.
It's not that I don't listen to your shows while I'm not on here, but I listen more. I listen more when I'm on here.
I don't expect you to. Would you rather fight 100 chicken-sized horses or one horse-sized chicken?
This was a segment on your show, a bit.
It was just during the news at 8 o'clock. Need water. All right.
Galen says, as a juror, I would not put a whole lot of credibility in anything read in the paper, internet, etc. I understand that many are influenced by what they read, but little of what I read is truthful. The problem is that while there's Galen's view on news and media, there's a lot of people that, depending on the news outlet, they'll drink the Kool-Aid no matter what is on there.
Oh, 100%. 100%. If you could go higher than 100%, I would agree with that more than 100%.
It's good Matherns.
What, by campus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like a little gym. Nobody understands. It's quiet. There's always parking there. You can get what you need. Byron writes, perhaps even scarier is the thought that a juror ignorant to the news and being placed in the position to determine guilt, probably not a scholar. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, just because you don't
disagree.
follow news, there's a lot of people that don't follow news right now because news is depressing.
Okay, that's fine, but
Or they only follow national news.
you know what? We can't all be happy all the time. Sometimes you have to adult.
Is
I
listening
make
to
the
the
same-
news, hold
Clarence-
on, is listening to the news adulting?
Knowing what's going on
Some
around
of the
you in
news,
your world,
hold on,
yes.
if some of the news is so far on one side of a bias spectrum, really? I mean,
Some of it, yes, but that doesn't mean you stay dialed out. I don't like the way that sounds. I'm not going to listen to it anymore. You know what that is? La 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 la
no,
la la la
no,
la
it's
la la.
exercising a choice. If you don't like the way something sounds, why would you continue to listen to it? You can go live
I
your
only want to
life.
hear happy things, Franz.
Huh?
I only want to hear happy things.
You know, well, it's
is
not-
Russia about to invade Ukraine? La 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 la.
So do you stay constantly on social media 24/7?
No, but that's
Well,
not.
it's called
that's-
adulting. It's finding out what your
That's
friends
not
are doing.
adulting. No, that's not.
I can't even keep a straight face on that one.
Yeah,
Can you do your
exactly.
Woody voice again?
I wasn't
So
thinking
bad.
like Woody. I was thinking like the Toy Story character. I was like, who's the prosecutor? Buzz.
There's a new Lightyear movie.
Oh.
It's origin story.
Oh, good lord.
We will have two weather stories every day. The morning temperatures will continue to be very cold, but then after a few hours of sunshine, you'll be able to feel back some
Who's this weather person?
today temperatures
Marissa Nuzzo.
60s, and tonight those lows will be bright.
This is kind of annoying. Her heart's not in it.
She records that the second she walks through the front door. She takes care of us first. I don't think she's got her full-on TV energy
Her
yet.
heart's not in it.
Her heart's in it.
No, her heart's not in
Her
it. That's
caffeine level isn't kicked up yet.
low energy. Low energy.
It is low energy. It's accurate for one thing, but for another,
Is it?
Yes. She's very good. .638 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Legally served as part of the mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So we got attorney Franz Borghardt in studio, as we do every single week. We're talking about Cynthia Perkins' attorney asking for a change of venue because there's been too much media coverage of this, and it's spilling over into death threats on the internet. So let's get past the process part in this segment. First of all, will he be successful in this venture?
Well, he's got to show that the prejudice that exists in that parish makes it such that she cannot receive a fair trial. Will jurors be scared? Will witnesses be scared because how they testify may put their lives in danger? Do witnesses and jurors know so much, specifically jurors, do jurors know so much now from the media and the high publicity of this case such that they can't put that out of their mind and give these two or give her a fair trial? And a fair trial, to be specific, is to weigh evidence without any outside influence. Without the influence of, this is what WBRZ is saying, this is what the local Livingston paper is saying, to be able to just come into the courtroom and weigh stuff, evidence, and decide did she or did she not do this stuff with proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's doing the it's a prejudicial standard, as I read in the first segment. So will she be successful? I don't know. Maybe. This is an awfully high-profile case.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the more high-profile cases we've seen in the media in the last year. I mean, it is, the facts are so ridiculously out there that it's been constantly, and things are happening in the courtroom, and people are, for example, the fact that Jared Ambos said, hey, my client wants to plead guilty, wants to take a plea.
Right.
Well, if you're a potential juror and you heard her say something of that nature, hey, we'd love to take a plea, are you sitting there thinking...
Well, isn't that on the attorney, though?
Well, hold on, though. My client wants to take a plea. Just an example of something that's been in the media. If I'm a potential juror, what am I thinking? Well, why are we wasting time with a trial?
Right.
They want to take a plea. That means they did something. They want to plead guilty to something. People who didn't do something don't plead guilty, right? So that's just an example. That now, again, to that end, is the media coverage more concentrated because it's Livingston, the East Baton Rouge, greater Baton Rouge area? Could you go to Lafayette and try this case? Could you go to Monroe and try this case? Does it even matter because internet's kind of global now?
Okay, yeah, I wanted to put that off until the back end of the segment. We do need to get to that right now.
Right.
Is a request for a change of venue moot in this day and age? There is no ounce of news that I can't access anywhere else. There is no ounce of news that this could very well be talked about on morning shows, on radio stations around the country, because we all have prep services.
Fodder for court TV right here.
Absolutely it is. And that means no story is local and every story is local.
Right. And this case checks all the boxes, right? Former law enforcement.
Former teacher.
Former teacher. Some of the facts are just outlandishly weird.
Yeah.
I joke about it sometimes. You just sit there and awkwardly look at me. But my point is, this case checks all the sensational boxes that would make for a made-for-TV Law and Order story, right?
Yes.
That being said, a judge saying, look, you can't go to the moon and get a fair trial. This is the internet inundates us in such a way that media is not just watching TV or looking at the news. Internet is, I pick up my phone. I can get on social media and look at stories, and then if I'm looking at the stories, am I influenced? So there's a strong argument for, look, unless there's a pocket dimension in the multiverse, I don't know that you can go anywhere and get these guys a fair trial. And then that begs the question, well, if they can't get a fair trial, they can't get a fair trial.
If I were to open up WBRZ.com or WAFB.com or The Advocate or WWL-TV or KLFY out of Lafayette, if I were to open any of those, I guarantee you, as I scroll through the first page, I will find 2 or 3 stories that have nothing to do with the market they're covering.
Right.
Florida man will come up.
Well, and sometimes the titles of the stories are clickbait, right?
100%. Here, let's go. And I'm going to use our news partners because I respect our news partners.
Yeah,
so,
WBRZ is where you got the source of this.
The WBRZ is where I grabbed the Cynthia Perkins story. Yes. So let's see if we could find something that's outside of stolen semi-truck carrying $154,000 worth of metal was found in New Orleans. That's a New Orleans story, not a Baton Rouge story. Not that egregious, though, because it's just down the road. Alvin Kamara, that's Las Vegas, but it is a New Orleans Saint, so it's just down the road. Wow, made it through the whole first page, and everything was still Louisiana-based in some way, shape, or form. But, I think it was yesterday there was a story out of Ohio. The day before that there was one out of California. If you have something where the headline is going to be clickbaity, then you're going to have it. So every headline about the Perkins trial is clickbaity.
So here's the thing. If the answer is you won't be able to get a fair trial anywhere because the news is so inundated, well, what do we do with that?
Right.
That's not their fault that the media outlets have covered and extensively covered these cases and these stories. They are still constitutionally entitled to a fair trial. That doesn't change just because it becomes harder. So I don't know what you do with that. I think that in this case, I think there is a straight-faced argument. I said this in an earlier segment, Brian. I think there's a straight-faced argument for this motion for change of venue.
Okay.
I would file this motion for change of venue if I were the defense attorneys, because I would be concerned about the well-being of my clients and the ability to get a fair trial by a jury of these quote-unquote peers.
Right.
You know, everybody. And by the way, small parishes, everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
Everybody knows. Baton Rouge, you have the luxury of. There's a lot of people I don't know in Baton Rouge.
Well, yes, but Livingston Parish, where does that qualify these days with its recent growth and everything? Here you go. Woman falls to death from massive historic ship in Texas. Right under that, Florida man steals car, train sends it crashing into house. I'm going to click on both of those stories for sure. But they are in no way, shape, or form local. And if we really wanted to break it down, if I wanted to like reverse engineer it, I could search Cynthia Perkins' case, and I guarantee you on that first page of Google, more than half of those stories would not be from a local outlet.
So the media coverage is one side of this coin. The other side of the coin is if you move to another parish, would the well-being of the witnesses and the jurors be better? Would their safety be better? Because that is a legitimate concern.
No, it is. It is.
I mean,
because proximity is going to affect
right,
emotion.
Right. You know, the dude that's going to assault your typical juror in the same parish may not drive an hour to go assault that juror.
Yes.
And by the way, what we really don't like is we really don't like witnesses or jurors being threatened by doing their duty by either coming and testifying or by serving as a juror. So there is legitimacy. Put the media to the side for a second. There is legitimacy to if there's a legitimate showing of threats and threats of violence.
Yeah,
that's legit.
All right, we're gonna break it there because we got more to unpack. Coming back in just a little bit. Hey, before we take that break though, business leaders, are you feeling the pinch of Louisiana's workforce crisis? Fred Keller, founder and chair of Cascade Engineering, changed how he managed his workforce, and you can too. You can copy his ways, bringing retention rates from 34% all the way up to 97%. Stop the revolving door of employees. Oh, by the way, when you do that, you're helping your employees out as well. A number of his employees got off of welfare. Simultaneously, company profits increased. Fred's going to be in Baton Rouge for the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon on March 22nd. You can learn his strategies. You can learn how to work with other leaders to make a strategy that's right for your company as well. The journey begins at risela.biz. Risela.biz. Get off of this. Get out of this cycle of a revolving door of low to middle income employees. Check out risela.biz. Rise LA. We all rise together. The Tito's Lounge.
Nothing says luxury like Tito's.
Handcrafted. In buckets. I love Tito's. I love the idea of being able to have a vodka with no hangover.
College ruined TOs for me. Most people got ruined from Fireball, and Fireball TOs one bad night.
So Galen writes, Byron, I understand what you're saying. It seems that anyone who demonstrates I'll say low IQ of below 75, or excuse me, an IQ greater than 75 are summarily dismissed. Maybe Franz can comment on that. Look, if I don't have a good case, I certainly don't want a smart juror that knows I'm not going to have a good case. I mean, come on, guys. I don't know how much legal commentary I need to have on that. And there's nothing wrong with me getting rid of smart people. There's nothing wrong with me getting rid of stupid people. I mean, I get to pick a jury that I want to a certain degree.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
The request for a change of venue, like, where does it happen in the process?
About right here.
How many people is he?
Well, in an ideal world, you would be able to do some polling, which of course the polling affects, because people are cold calling or
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
We're gonna have like 2 seconds to go there.
No, just roll with it.
Just go with it. Just go with it. Shh. Just go with it.
Super Bowl halftime show is going to be fire.
Is it just Eminem?
No, it's Dre, it's Snoop, it's Mary J. Blige.
I don't have cable. Damn, I'm gonna miss it. Is it on YouTube? I did watch a good spaghetti western. I watched a good spaghetti western on YouTube
No
TV.
such thing as a good spaghetti.
No, dude,
western.
I disagree.
That's the definition of a spaghetti western. It's got to be bad.
Dude, it was so good.
It's
And it was all on
okay.
YouTube, so I played it on
All right,
TV.
poll question: is there such a thing as a good spaghetti western?
Sure. Good, the bad, the ugly.
It's terrible.
If it's a few dollars more. Those were great movies.
They're bad movies.
Did you like westerns when you were growing up? I mean,
No, Tombstone. But Tombstone's not spaghetti. What? It's a western.
it is. Like by its very definition. Yeah, it's kind of. There's cowboys.
But that doesn't make it a
There's
spaghetti
cowboys in it.
western.
I'm surprised that phrase "spaghetti western" hasn't been canceled. It's kind of racist. Spaghetti western because they were filming them in Italy, and they were being dubbed.
You can't be racist against white people. Well, the Holocaust wasn't racist.
Oh, slow down there, Whoopi.
Just saying, man. If it's good for
These
Whoopi.
mics are dead, right? How about Whoopi only gets suspended? No, she's given 2 weeks to reflect on her behavior. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, if I would have said a comment like that,
Easy white privilege. Settle down.
but wait, is it? I thought Whoopi was Jewish, or part Jewish.
Because her name's Goldberg?
I mean, no, I think she identifies as Jewish.
Who? Oh.
Whoopi is Jewish.
Right, but she's black and Jewish. If you're
She
white
dual
and Jewish.
dual identity.
Right, if you're white and Jewish,
Well,
you,
there's
don't,
black.
you don't count.
There's black Jews.
Don't-
Sammy Davis Jr. Well, the Israelites weren't quote unquote white.
Right, well, but if you can't see it at first glance, then it doesn't count. According to Whoopi. According to Whoopi. Rolling right along with Legally Served as part of Mornings with Brian Haldane. Alongside attorney Franz Borghardt, I'm Brian. We are talking about the Cynthia Perkins case and how her attorney would like a change of venue. Asking a number of questions. Number one, is that moot in this day and age? There is no place where you're not going to know about this. And as we already talked about, that's not a qualifier. You can know about a trial and still be on the jury. You can know about the case and still be on the jury. You just can't show that your mind is made up when it comes to having a prejudice against the accused. I also want to ask this. Where are we on the process with this trial, and why does this happen now for the request of change of venue?
Well, so you asked that question at the break, and I'll say this is about when you would start looking at that, because it is going to trial. Mm-hmm. There's been extensive media coverage. Now, in an ideal world where money is not an issue, you do some polling, right? We'd hire our boy who comes on the show sometimes.
Covion?
We'd hire our boy Covion, do some polling, which of course that creates issues too.
Well, you're just drawing more attention to the case when you have a poll, right?
That's the problem, right? And so you would present it. Now it's about the right time. And look,
Can you taint the jury pool with the poll?
These two innocent until proven guilty souls are both looking at life sentences. So
Yeah.
candidly, from a defense standpoint, you need to start making sure you've doubled down in protecting the record and making sure these guys get a fair trial. So to answer your question, yeah, now's about the right time to do this. Normally right when you're at the cusp of having a trial and,
Okay, have they interviewed potential jurors so far?
No.
Well, here's where the genesis of my question wouldn't you go through your voir dire process and then say, I can't find anybody? Like, isn't it worth asking the potential jurors where they're at first?
So there's a before and after way of doing it, right? You could file a motion now saying, look, before we waste all the time and the court's energy and efforts, we have a legitimate issue. We need to go somewhere else because the threat is so real that it will affect their ability to be truthful during the voir dire part. Or you can say, Judge, I'm going to file this motion. And the judge can say, Mr. Scott, I'm going to take your motion. I think it's premature. And I'm going to wait until we start the voir dire process. And if it seems apparent that there's an overwhelming knowledge base of this, then we will revisit it. The problem is the horse is out of the barn at that point. So, and the question becomes, can potential jurors become, if the prejudice is so vast, if the threat is so vast, are they going to be able to be honest and truthful?
Right.
While they're doing voir dire? Are they going to be subconsciously concerned or consciously concerned about the ramifications of, what's going to happen if they make this juror? I wouldn't want to be a part of this trial. I mean, I would serve my civic duty, but I would not want to sit for a 2-week or a week and a half long trial with some of the graphic detail. I'm pure as snow. That's not a white entitlement comment there. I'm just pure as snow, and my sensibilities might be rocked or shaken by the facts of this case. No, I'm joking. I would serve. I don't have I can compartmentalize a whole bunch of things in life and serve.
Yeah. Getting back to the polling part of this, can an attorney tank? Can an attorney taint his own jury pool with a poll?
So it depends on how
the nature of the questions, the way you frame everything.
It depends on how you do the poll. Right?
Yeah,
it depends on how you do the poll.
Which means the answer to the question is yes.
But I think he or she is also justified in saying, well, Judge, I have to show the pervasive nature of the knowledge base of this case. And if the questions are controlled about, hey, have you heard about this case? How did you hear about this case?
Right.
What news outlets do you normally frequent? Those are general enough to where.
How would you feel if this were your kids?
Well, no, that would not be inappropriate. That would be tainting. Tainting the jury pool. And that's,
but it's
by the
possible.
way, you just alluded to that is a reason why a lot of people are not going to be able to serve on this jury is they get so incensed at the mere allegation of doing something inappropriate to children.
100%.
Which, by the way, is an appropriate response from normal human beings.
Worldwide.
Right.
Which brings us right back around and making the whole darn thing moot.
But they got to be able, look, just because someone's accused of a horrible crime with seemingly overwhelming evidence doesn't mean that we make the decision on the front end. You've got to be able to sit back and say, you know what, state, you've got the burden. You know what, AG's office, you've got the burden. You need to prove it. Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And look, this one's complicated because they've already tried a co-defendant. They've already tried a co-defendant who has been convicted of connected charges. So it was in the media when that happened.
But getting back to the request for a change of venue, that level, that fact is fact everywhere.
If you're only looking at it from the standpoint of the pervasive nature of internet and media accessibility, right? And that's really what we're talking about, right? We're proof. You and I are proof. You can listen to the radio now on YouTube.
Right.
You can watch
and subscribe.
Remember when subscribe to Go Rich. So remember when if you didn't listen to the radio, that was it.
Right.
You missed your opportunity. Now you got YouTube on demand. Mornings with Brian Haldane on demand on YouTube.
Right.
The pervasiveness,
everywhere.
Yeah, the pervasiveness of media and media attention and news is on the one hand awesome because now we have more access than we've ever had before.
Right.
But in the context of a criminal case, it's troubling because it presents issues.
What's on Go Rouge this week?
Oh, dude, we're continuing the celebration of Black History Month. I couldn't get Whoopi. Even though she's on a break, I couldn't get Whoopi, so I've got a special.
She's got time.
I got a special hot talent from the Public Defender's Office. Just got it directed. Miss Elena, I'm going to have her on, and then I'm going to have Chris.
Elena Bloodworth?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And then I'm going to have Chris Cummings to talk about some hot news on his business. He's also an attorney as well, so he's been on the show before. You were producing.
I was recognizing the name, but
I'm
couldn't place
excited
it.
about Elena. I've watched her
she's been okay.
rise.
Yeah.
And she has just got selected to a great position to help out the public defense world. So yeah, go Rouge.
Very
Go
cool.
Subscribe to YouTube.
Friday at 6 p.m. right here on Talk 107.3 FM, on YouTube as well. And yes, do subscribe to Franz's channel. And this one.
Yeah, you're ahead of me still.
Am I?
It's like the Fat Boy 50. I'm getting motivated.
Okay, good. You'll catch Go Rouge Friday at 6 p.m. right here on Talk 107.3 FM and part of the Saturdays on Demand lineup Saturday night as well. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We always appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. We got the CBS World News Roundup coming your way right now, then top stories and trending after that. Elena's also a proud new mama, if I'm not mistaken. I might be confusing her with somebody else. I'm never getting picked for jury duty,
Okay.
but bees what it bees.
Well, there's the difference between I'm never going to get picked because I intentionally gunned to not be picked versus I'm honest and I'm truthful and for whatever reason they just don't need me to serve. I respect one of those two.
I don't
respect the other one.
I've only gotten the letter in the mail once, and I went down, and yes, I tried my level best to be as open, but I was dismissed.
I'm open like a 7-Eleven, baby.
I shouldn't say I was dismissed like that. I was made to sit there for the entire day.
That's your service is appreciated. Just because you don't get invited to go to the show, look. Just because you don't get from AAA to the show doesn't mean that your service is not appreciated.
I was told early on I wasn't going to be part of it, but I had to sit there.
Right.
And this is Judge Trudy White.
She was punishing you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see you guys later.
Later, bro. What do I have Friday? There she is. All right, who's in? Hey, Christian. Every time I almost get picked, I throw around jury nullification, and they always throw me out of the hat. Like I was telling Franz, I tried, but there was one. The judge threw me out immediately. No, not immediately. Made me sit there the rest of the day, and I felt like it was a direct punishment. It was not cool. Not cool, bro. No shit. Also, a jury of your peers, also a bit sketchy. Convicted felons never pick for juries. She hasn't been convicted of anything yet, though, Debbie. They're not convicted felons till after the trial. Now, if she has to go back for another trial, that's a different story. But as of right now, she's not a convicted felon. She's accused. Gotcha. Oh, snap. Um, as soon as we get back in, can you run downstairs? Before I'll vamp before top stories are trending. But my next guest, yeah. All right. .707 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane. Rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Got a big hour for you this hour. We're going to have Congressman Garret Graves at 7:35. And in our next segment, Stephen Privat is an LSU student. He is a junior at LSU. And if you were watching watching WBRZ last night at 7, you will have seen him on the Jeopardy National College Championship. Stephen is a Lafayette native, and he will be joining us in our next segment. Hey, coming up this hour also, we'll have The Outside In. We'll have top stories and trending a little more than a minute from right now. But before we get to any of that, I do need to ask you what you're doing for lunch today, because Mooyah is never a bad call. 2 locations, one on Segan, just north of Industrialplex. The other is Blue Bonnet at Highland Road, and they've got the burgers you want. I mean, whether you're talking about an indulgent barbecue, whether you're talking about the best case scenario or the well-done, whether you're talking about the double Diablo or the A1 cheeseburger, the mushroom Swiss burger, the Mooyah double cheeseburger, the MDC, they've got you set. And if none of those appeal to you, might I suggest creating your own. Build your own. And while you're there, grab a milkshake. And while you're there, sweet potato fries dipped in honey. It's a game changer. 2 locations. Segan, just north of Industrialplex. Blue Bonnet at Highland. You're going to get fresh cut ingredients. You're going to get freshly baked potato buns and certified Angus beef at either location of Mooyah. All right, time for top stories and trending. Let's roll. How about this for a promotion? The Catholic Church announced Tuesday the appointment of Bishop Shelton Fabry as Archbishop of Louisville. Fabry, a New Roads native, mostly served as Bishop of the Diocese of Houma-Thibodeau. Bishop Michael Duca put out an announcement saying congratulations to the bishop on his appointment as Archbishop of Louisville. Bishop Emeritus Robert Munch and I extend to him our personal best wishes, along with those of countless friends and former parishioners in his native diocese of Baton Rouge. Bishop Shelton Fabry, moving up to Kentucky. The Louisiana Senate voted along party lines Tuesday to advance a congressional map that maintains the status quo of a single majority black district, despite repeated threats from civil rights groups that the plans will result in costly and time-consuming litigation. The vote came moments after the grabbing this one from The Advocate. Blake Patterson at The Advocate, phrasing it this way. The vote came moments after the Republican chair of the Senate's map drawing committee revealed that a law firm hired by the legislature, unbeknownst to Democrats, had provided her with private legal advice on redistricting. There's also the simple matter of looking at the map and trying to figure out how to do that logistically. Driving in Baton Rouge can be a hassle with standstill traffic, poor roads, full of potholes, and what seems like never-ending construction. The intersection of Jefferson and Corporate was used as an example in this WBRZ story, and roads like that are common across Baton Rouge. A solution could be on the way. The Capital Region Planning Commission has a new infrastructure plan. This plan is going to take a long time to complete, but Jamie, I believe it's pronounced Setz, the executive director of the Capital Region Planning Commission, says the end goal is to cut 1.5 million hours out of traffic delays and improve the roads. Move 2046 includes several road projects with a price tag of $5 billion. So far, only $2 billion is secured. The commission will have to find the rest of the cash. Projects already funded include the College Drive flyover ramp and the widening of Lee Drive from Perkins to Highland. Setz thinks these things and others will help with traffic. Wonder where Move EBR is with that project as well. I mean, that's already happening, right? Back to The Advocate, this time for Louisiana Supreme Court said Tuesday it will decide whether Baton Rouge serial killer Kenneth Gleason's conviction should be thrown out because he died in prison while appealing the verdict. A state appeals court, at the request of Gleason's appellate attorney, used a little-known common law doctrine known as the abatement ab initio to toss his conviction back in November. The doctrine requires courts to set aside a conviction if the defendant dies while appealing his trial. The East Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office has asked the Supreme Court to reinstate Gleason's first-degree murder conviction. Prosecutors want the justices to either abandon the doctrine or follow or allow for a suicide exception so that a convicted defendant cannot circumvent the fact of conviction and obtain a de facto acquittal by electing to kill himself. Catherine Franks, who's handling Gleason's appeal, has said the Baton Rouge-based First Circuit Court of Appeal did not err in following the doctrine and throwing out the conviction. Gleason, by the way, was found hanging in his Angola cell back in September, a month after he was sentenced to life in prison in an April conviction. The text messages continue to be revealed. Staff for Governor John Bell Edwards were in constant communication with people tied to the investigation into the death of Ronald Green back in May of 2019. Text messages obtained through a public records request by WBRZ's investigative unit showed the governor's lawyers, state and federal prosecutors messaged often as the case was scrutinized amid media reports of a state police cover-up. The governor's executive counsel, Matthew Block, was apparently in regular communication with John Belton, the district attorney up in Union Parish. At one point, as things were unraveling, the governor's office even offered to send a helicopter to pick up Belton to meet with the Green family in Baton Rouge. Another text appears to show Belton was keeping the governor's office abreast of meetings. Quote, Green family and their attorneys would like to meet with me Thursday, Belton wrote to Block. If this causes issues with you, then I will reconsider. Out of respect, I wanted to make sure you knew about it. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. Stephen Privat, who's up next, 21-year-old LSU student, moves on to the next round of Jeopardy. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and stop right now so we can get the full story. Coming your way next on Talk 107.3. What's happening, man? Come on over. You're right here. We are always on YouTube, and we're good to go. Congrats, first of all. I did not get to see it last night. I was in a meeting until about 8:30, so I plan on watching it when I got home today. But was quite pleased to see that you moved on to the semifinals. Yeah. I assume everything's in the can, and you can't talk about what happens next, or do you have?
I can't talk about the next round. I can talk about the one that was yesterday.
Gotcha. Yeah. Very strict rules about those sorts of things.
A lot of papers I had to sign.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll dive into a couple of things like favorite topics. You're 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The woman who was hosting was a star of a sitcom when I was growing up.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favorites. So. Yeah, I was at the gym at 4:30 yesterday, and that's when Jeopardy always comes on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're introducing the three contestants. I'm like, wait a minute, nobody's wearing a sweatshirt. Nobody's wearing a college, the college hoodie. And they get to all three, and I'm like, did WBRC just really screw up here? So that was when I sent you back that email.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think a lot of people thought it was gonna be at 4:30, but it's like a different kind of show. Technically, it's on like prime time. So
Yeah. Some of these, okay, so when the press release came out, you weren't allowed to talk about a lot of it, but there are some that you can talk about now because the episode is aired.
yeah.
Okay.
Talk to your doctor about Creon, the #1 prescribed EPI treatment, and visit gocreon.com. That's GOCREON.com, or call 1-800-633-9110.
And you're graduating this semester.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Law school.
Wow. Okay.
Taking the outside yet?
Yeah, I did. I hated taking it.
Friend's studying for it now.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing about probably as well as you have, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a fun test to study for.
She was like, you need 6 months to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm.
She was originally going to take it in like a week.
Yeah.
No, I want to reschedule that.
Yeah.
See an accident? Report it at WBRC Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $100 instant savings with the purchase of 4 eligible Bridgestone or Firestone tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Move the mic a little closer to me.
Yeah, and I got you. 717 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So, if you're like me and a regular Jeopardy fan, you knew there was going to be an LSU student on yesterday, and you tuned in at 4:30, only to find out this is a primetime special instead. Stephen Privat is a political science major, originally from Lafayette, Louisiana, and was on last night's Jeopardy National College Championship. He joins us in studio right now. Stephen, good morning. How are you, man?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good.
Glad to have you on here. First of all, congratulations on moving on to the next round.
Thank you.
Absolutely. No, well earned, sir. So, obviously you're not allowed to talk about anything that happens beyond what aired last night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I won't press in that regard. But as an absolute Jeopardy nerd, like, I'm dialed in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start from the very beginning. How did this come about? How do you get involved with something like this?
Yeah, so, I've always been a fan of Jeopardy. I've watched it ever since I was a kid. And, there's an online test you can take to get on the show. You go on Jeopardy's website, do a 15-minute quiz or whatever. And if you do good enough, they invite you for an audition. And they have specific ones. So I took the one for the college tournament, obviously. And I must have done pretty good enough to make it to the auditions, because I did a few rounds of that, which are just more kind of tests like that. You play a mock game. There's a little interview. And then once you pass all of those, they invite you to be on the show. But there was about like a 6 or 7 month gap between my last interview or last audition and when they told me I was going to be on the show.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I had almost, at that point, I had almost forgotten I had auditioned. It was so long ago. So
Jeopardy fan since a kid.
Yeah.
So, long time. So when you get on for the college championship, you show up there, and it's Mayim Bialik as the host and not Ken Jennings, and unfortunately, with Trebek's passing. What's your takeaway there as far as, like, walking into that scene? Like, it's a different – it's got to feel different when the lights come on.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was super excited to just be there because, it's always been a dream of mine. And actually being there and being on set with all the lights, a little nerve-wracking at first, but I think you kind of get used to it pretty quick. And I was just excited to have fun and answer some questions and stuff. I thought it was awesome.
How much interaction did you have with the other contestants, like off camera and whatnot?
Yeah, a lot actually. They all had us staying in the same hotel, so when we weren't filming or anything, we'd all go to dinner or get breakfast or something together. So we all were able to like bond really well and get really close, and it was just awesome. All the other contestants, even from yesterday's episode, like Ella and Jasmine, they were all super nice and super great people, and it was awesome just to be able to hang out with them and create some cool friendships with people from across the country.
So you fill out the quiz, you do the audition, you wait half your life and give up on it, and then get called back in. Take me through that emotion when you do get the call back about, hey, we'd like you to come back on.
Yeah, so actually, it was a text that I got. So when I first got the text from one of the producers, I was a little confused because I didn't expect a
New
text.
phone, who dis?
Yeah, so I kind of I wasn't sure if it was real or not at first, but I ended up setting up a call with John, one of the producers, and he told me I was in like the final selection pool for the show. So I had to wait a couple more weeks before they officially picked me. But once I first heard that, I was over the moon. I was so excited. It's, like I said, always been a dream of mine. Just being able to actually do that was amazing.
How do you prep for this, though, once you find out you're actually in? I mean, is it just more of taking online quizzes, doing sample Jeopardy questions, downloading apps where you can like play along for the home version and whatnot?
Yeah, it was really pretty much a lot of stuff like that. Obviously, I didn't know what to study since I didn't know what the questions were going to be. So it was a lot of just looking up random quizzes online. There's a website that has all the old Jeopardy games on that you can go look at and kind of practice on those. So I would do that a lot, and also just if there was a topic I was interested in that I thought could come up, I'd go learn about it. I did a lot of geography quizzes, like state capitals, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as structured probably as I think it could have been, but I think I was able to, the way I did it, I was able to learn a wide variety of different information.
How much of it is strategy and how much of it is just having to have the knowledge base? Like, are you playing numbers games in your head, like when it comes to something like a Daily Double, your Final Jeopardy wager, that sort of thing? When it comes down to that, how much are you rolling the numbers in your head, or how much are you just saying, yeah, I know this, I'm all in?
Yeah, so I think just knowing the information and the strategy both kind of play a part. I've always been bad at math, so I kind of wasn't focusing. I wasn't focusing too much on the numbers, kind of, especially because I got 2 Daily Doubles wrong during the game, so I obviously kind of, I don't know, wasn't too sure about that. But as far as strategy, I was kind of just sticking kind of with the categories I felt more familiar with and thought I could get. Kind of was going off of that. Luckily, with those Daily Doubles I got wrong, I didn't bet too much, so I didn't lose a whole bunch of money, and was able to come back from it, obviously. So
nice. When you're there, and it's you and the 2 other contestants, how much of a time crunch do you feel when you chime in?
Yes, so buzzing in was a whole process kind of that I had to learn how to do, because you have to wait till the question's done being read, and once the question's done being read, the board lights up, and once the board lights up, that's when you know to buzz in. So it's kind of, you have to find kind of the sweet spot between when the question's done being read and kind of like timing it to where you get it right when the board lights up. So it kind of took some trial and error to figure out. And, the producers are there the whole time watching, and they can see when you buzz in. So if you're a little early or a little late or whatever, they come up and tell you in between breaks, be like, hey, you're coming in a little early, try to wait a little bit before you come in. So just trying to find the right place to do that to also beat the other 2 people was it was interesting and kind of a challenge to figure out.
Did that cause you to miss out on anything you could have gotten otherwise?
Yes, so Jeopardy actually posts box scores of how many times I attempted to buzz in, how many times I actually got in. And I was looking at it last night because I wasn't sure what it was, and I tried buzzing in 44 times, but only actually managed to buzz in 22 of them. So I was like 50%.
Batting 500.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good in baseball, not so much at the free throw line. On Jeopardy, I don't know where that falls. Were you able to see the box scores of the other contestants?
Yeah, they're all up there.
Okay.
I can't remember right now what theirs were. I think they were pretty similar. I think I might have been able to buzz in a little bit more, but I'm not positive.
Let's talk about your level of aggression when buzzing in. Like, how 100% certain that you know the question? How 100% certain are you before you hit that buzzer? Or is it like, I kind of have an idea for this, but I might lose $800? Like, where's is there like a metric in your head, like, okay, I'm more than 60% sure I'm in?
Yeah, so definitely when I was 100% sure, I would obviously buzz in.
Right.
But if it was kind of, if I thought I could figure it out in the few seconds I got to buzz in, I would go for it and try to see. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. There was one question about William Jennings Bryan that I knew that was the answer, but so I buzzed in, but I just could not remember his name for the life of me. So I just ended up saying Wallace, like who is Wallace? So I got that wrong, but kind of if I have a general idea that I think I can figure this out, or I'm pretty sure I know, I go ahead and go for it and just see what happens.
Was there stage pressure?
I think there was initially, but so the way the filming happened, the episodes aren't airing in the order that we filmed them.
Okay.
So I was my quarterfinal game was the 6th game that was filmed. So it was the last game filmed on that day. So I got there at 8, 9 in the morning and then didn't actually play until 7 at night. So at that point, after just sitting there and waiting, I wasn't really nervous as much as I was just anxious and excited to go and actually play.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So you move on to the next round, which we're not allowed to talk about the next round. But I do need to ask you about return appearances. I mean, you're never going to pass up the opportunity. But you can't be on Jeopardy ever again after this run. So, like, was there ever a question of, I'm going to wait and hold out, not do the college championship, and, like, try to take down, you know, some of the goats, take down the Ken Jennings, where you can have a run for like 3 months or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely things I've heard people mention. People have asked me about that, but I really just was excited to be on the show in any kind of capacity. So just being able to take that chance was awesome because, I mean, who knows? I might not be, who knows what will happen if I try to take the normal test. It might take me a few more years or a while to even get on that show if I could have. So I think
bird
this
in
was
the
just
hand.
an awesome opportunity to see, and I couldn't really pass that up.
All right. How much did school help you prepare for this versus your own preparation? Like what, and like classes at LSU, dating back to high school, whatever. How much did what you've learned in a classroom versus what you had to prepare on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly most of the stuff I know is from school, just all the like different ranges of classes I had to take, just ever since, you know, middle, high school and everything. And I think college helped especially because I had more freedom with picking my classes. So, you know, I've taken classes on Alfred Hitchcock movies, authoritarian regimes. So just that wide variety kind of helped give me a lot more like general background that I think really helped with the show.
Now, the story at WBRZ, I believe, said your specialty is Greek mythology.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite kind of category. I read the Percy Jackson books when I was a kid, so I was really interested in Greek mythology. So I think I know a decent amount about that. So I would say, yeah, that was probably my favorite.
Do you walk in just like, I hope this comes up, type of, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope the categories I'm good at come up, but also I kind of got to be careful because some of those categories could also be the best category for the other people I'm playing against. So it's kind of, you hope it's a category, like a niche kind of category that only you know about, but
right?
You can never really be sure.
Yeah. What was the hardest question you got on the show?
Man, the hardest question.
Wait, let me be fair. Think back to the one episode that's already aired. I don't want to. I don't want you to reveal anything that you're not supposed to reveal, or do.
I think the final Jeopardy question I had was pretty tough. I didn't get it right. The one about, it was the biological etymology question about a Venus flytrap and how its Latin name is related to Aphrodite, the Greek goddess. And I ended up saying rose because I kind of associated rose with, you know, love and Aphrodite and everything.
Sure.
But it ended up being Venus flytrap, which I think I should have known. But in the time, you know, you got 30 seconds. It was kind of hard to come up with. But
right.
I think that was a pretty tough one.
Any problems with answering in the form of a question?
Surprisingly, I was honestly really scared that I was going to forget to do that. But I really didn't have any problems. It went pretty well.
It's one of those, like, I always assume. And normally when I'm watching Jeopardy, I'm either on the treadmill or because it's on at the gym, right?
Yeah.
It's on at the gym. And when you train yourself, it's one of those things that can become kind of second nature. Hey, last one before I get you out of here. Well, actually, two more before I get you out of here. The first of the last two is The other contestants you were there with, any friendships formed? Have you communicated with anybody since getting together?
Yeah, we all actually have a big group chat that we all talk in. We've been talking about the game yesterday and everything. There's actually a few other Louisiana students there. There's a girl who is from Baton Rouge who actually went to U High on LSU's campus.
Cool.
She goes to school in Boston now. And there's also a girl from Tulane who's competing.
Oh, wow. Okay. So nice little Louisiana tribe up there. Last one before we get you out of here, what's next for you? You're graduating this semester. Where are you headed?
I'm planning on going to law school. I haven't quite decided where yet. Still kind of waiting to hear back from schools and everything, but that's the plan right now.
Can you drop the Jeopardy that falls on your resume on your application?
Oh, yeah,
you got
it's
to.
on my resume.
I mean, if you've got that swag, you got to bring it, man. He's Stephen Privat, was on Jeopardy last night, and will continue into the semifinals, repping the purple and gold for forever LSU, to be sure. Stephen, thank you so much for coming in, and congrats, man. This is a big deal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
for having me.
Yeah, always. We got a break for news. When we come back, Congressman Garret Graves is going to be on the hotline. It's time for D.C. Current. What's going on in our nation's capital from District 6 perspective? In the meanwhile, if you missed anything on the show, it's available on demand at talk1073.com. Also, before we get your news, I do have to remind you, Talk 1073 and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help make 2022 as easy as possible on you. To do that, we might be picking up your car payment. Simply go to talk1073.com. Click on our free car payments for a year sweepstakes and register. If you don't win the big one with the car payments, we are giving away 6 months worth of free car washes from Benny's Car Wash at talk1073.com. Dude, thanks a million, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, did you grab a pick while we? Okay, cool. Oh, so when does the next one air?
I'm pretty sure it's next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be in on that one for sure. It's,
Yeah.
last night, Mondays. I'm a father of three, so I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, awesome stuff. Dude, I'm a lifelong Jeopardy fan.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like when I saw this, I was like totally nerding out on it. So good
It was
stuff.
awesome.
Good deal.
So much fun.
Well, I appreciate you coming down. This is a
Yeah,
lot
no
of
problem.
fun.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
a lot of fun. Without giving away where you go, can we get you to circle back after it's all over with?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'd love to.
All right, I'll hit you up via email.
Yeah.
So
All right.
good
Sounds
deal.
good. Yep.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a million.
Yeah. Have a good day.
You too. Anna says I watched Jeopardy last night. Great job. Yeah, it was. I was all over the place. I got to get back in and watch it. It was. I've got to sit up in the queue. Byron, I haven't seen it since Sean Connery and Turd Ferguson died. Aw, Turd Ferguson. Funny name. It's a big hat. It's funny. He was good. Couldn't stop rocking back and forth, but he was awesome. I know.
Did they just say Sean McVay?
Dawn. Yeah.
Dude, I saw this one clip of Sean McVay. This dude was interviewing him on the field, not during a game. Sorry, my mic wasn't on. I saw this interview with Sean McVay because they said Don McVay, and this newscast it made me think of Sean McVay. I recently saw this clip on Twitter of this dude interviewing Sean about his time as a coach, and he would just be like, "Hey, you guys were playing the football team. It was this quarter at this time and this play.
Yeah.
What'd y'all do?" And he just gave the exact description of what happened.
Was that Barstool that was doing that or Bleacher Report? It might have been Bleacher Report. Yeah, I saw it.
But it was
ridiculous
this
recall.
dude's
They were quizzing him on his
human
own
journal.
coaching. Yeah.
This dude remembered every single little detail that happened in the play, who it went to, what the score was.
Never gonna get that from me. That's
or anybody. Like I've only seen
Sean
two.
Payton's like that.
I've only seen two people like that in sports. One is him, and the second one is the Spanish goalkeeper for Real Madrid, who played there pretty much his entire career. Equally as impressive, obviously.
Why would a goalkeeper remember anything? Well, it's easy to remember goals in soccer, though, because it's like they only happen once or twice a game.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes
and
you
then
get
we ran
9
around
goals.
for 90 minutes and nothing happened.
Did you know that on
remember when nothing
average,
happened.
the average soccer player per 90 minutes runs about 11 kilometers?
That's fantastic for them.
It's insane.
Savings with the purchase of 4 eligible Bridgestone or Firestone tires. Visit ShopBellsTire.com to learn more.
You don't have to leave town to get a getaway. Use it for actually like nothing else. Water no off to the state that has really miles away from you. Enjoy luxurious.
The video kit should still be in the LSU room. So after this interview, or after the interview, after we're off air, we'll go to the LSU room.
Okay.
It's really simple. If you can do Comrex, you can do that, no problem.
All right.
Download the all-new Talk 1073 mobile app brought to you by Gregory Ricks and Associates. Listen live, find out what you missed on demand, and even set an alarm to wake up and listen. The Talk 1073 mobile app is brought to you by Gregory Ricks and Associates. Dreams are important.
Are you gonna set up YouTube from there as well?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Which, yeah, that I would appreciate. Whatever I need to get set up ahead of time, to where I could just boot up and go.
Yeah, I'll get you that.
Cool. Okay.
Also, the live reads are set up in the same way as last time. As in weird.
For the rest of the week, we will have 2 weather stories every day. The morning temperatures will continue to be very cold, but then after a few hours of sunshine, you'll be able to peel back some layers as things warm up. Today, temperatures will max out in the mid-60s, and tonight those lows will be right back down to around 40 degrees. High temperatures on Thursday will be near 70 degrees with overnight lows again near 40 degrees.
One of my prep emails says today is National Pizza Day. I swear it's National Pizza Day 6 times a year.
Maybe it's specifically today. I think it's like National Pepperoni Pizza Day.
It just says National Pizza Day on mine.
No, I'm saying like a couple of weeks ago it was probably National.
Oh, yeah, yeah. .737 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, waiting on Congressman Garret Graves to hop on board for DC Current. Thanks again to Stephen Privat. That was fun. So was debating, were we going to do the whole, was I going to set up to do a whole Jeopardy bit where I was going to ask, like, quiz him here? I was like, you know what? I'm guessing every other place he stops, he's going to get that. But here's what we're going to do, though. He's going to come back on once it's all over with, and I legit don't know how far he went. I know he's in the semifinals, and that's about it. That's all I know for now. That's all he's allowed to say. So once it's all said and done, once it's all over with, I think I might have him back on and re-ask some of the questions that he missed along the way. Anyway, he was a lot of fun. And repping LSU very, very well. Joining us right now, as he does every Wednesday at this time, Congressman Garret Graves. We call it DC Current. Congressman, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Doing great. How about you, Brian?
Doing very well. We got a lot of ground to cover this morning, but I got to start with a press release from your office from yesterday evening. The headline just reads, Hurricane Ida victims were left out again. The House of Representative leadership released a 3-week government funding bill that contains zero funding for Hurricane Ida or Southwest Louisiana recovery efforts. How big of a hit or how big of a blow was this?
Look, the governor came in and identified somewhere between $2.5 and $3 billion in additional funding needs for those that have been most impacted. I mean, Brian, I don't need to tell you, Hurricanes Laura, Delta, Zeta, Ida. I mean, we've been pounded over the past couple of years. And other storms, disaster victims are normally treated fairly. Now, as you know, the folks over in Southwest Louisiana, it took way too long to get them their first tranche of funds, but $3 billion short. We were able to secure a big chunk of funds back in the end of September last year, And these temporary funding bills, I mean, this is how we did it last time, and this is where we need to do it again. So we offered amendments to try and restore those funds, put them back in there, get people back on their feet. That was shut down. We tried to delay the just huge increases in flood insurance rates. They shut that one down. In fact, Congressman Troy Carter and I tried to work on that one together. We tried to improve some of the fisheries disaster assistance. As you know, our fishing communities have been impacted disproportionately being down on the coast. They shut that down. And so really disappointing. We're continuing to work through other vehicles, other bills to try and get this in there. But again, even the governor's saying $3 billion shortage.
It is a blow, to say the least, especially the headline reads Hurricane Ida victims left out again, but the blow to Southwest Louisiana, I feel like they're constantly being overlooked.
I agree, and as you and I discussed a few months ago, you know, in the aftermath of the 2016 floods, we were able to secure extraordinary funding, extra funding, in about 1 month after the storm. 1 month. In the case of Hurricane Ida, we secured funds 1 month after Hurricane Ida made landfall, and in the case of the Southwest hurricanes, it took closer to 14 months for folks to get them money. And you know, it's really just wrong. So you not only did they get the funds 14 months later, but they also shortchanged them. So just really disappointing. And we're going to continue working with everybody, Republicans, Democrats. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This is just about people, and so we're going to continue working to try to force them to come to the table and help these folks out. Just give them a helping hand.
Congressman Garret Graves is our guest. We call it DC Current. We visit every single week. So we're going to bring it back home and span around the globe within this segment. So let's start by bringing it back home. In our state capital right now, there is a redistricting session going on. Not much you could do about it from Washington, D.C., but how much are you dialed into what's going on with congressional maps right now? And are you brought in to talk about any of these topics?
Look, we're monitoring the activities of the legislature. We've seen all the different maps. I'm certainly reading the press reports, and I'll tell you, I've been incredibly disappointed to read just how this whole thing has been broken down on racial lines, as though that is the singular thing that anybody needs to be considering. And you know, Brian, the other thing is as somebody who works, I'm not going to tell you that I'm perfect or that I'm about 1,000, but as somebody who works pretty hard to try and represent everybody in our community, to have this suggestion that the only way black folks can be represented is they have a black representative, the only way white folks can be represented if they have a white representative. I mean, look, just putting all the technical issues aside, I totally dismiss that concept. And to give an example, I mean, heck, the West Shore project, I haven't looked at the demographics, but I'm going to guess that project probably helps more minorities than it helps other folks. And that project didn't have a lobbyist, didn't have anybody out there advocating for it but me. And we, project was stuck since before I was born. We went out there and busted our butts, and we got the project authorized. We got it fully funded, and even secured just recently another $453 million to bring the total amount of money secured for that project in excess of $1.2 billion. And look, I can go on and on, but I think that the debate has really devolved into just unconstructive areas, and let's just focus on connecting communities that make sense, that connecting communities that care about a bridge, connecting communities that have similar flood protection issues, and I think that there's a lot of criteria that you really just bringing common sense to the table should be thinking about and talking about. I remind you, the existing maps were actually approved by Eric Holder during the Obama administration, and then for him to turn around and come and sue the state and say that they were discriminatory or something. I mean, this whole thing is just circus-like.
It is, and it's divisive at best. Intentional at worst, but divisive at best. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I didn't know what level of participation you or any of the rest of Louisiana's delegation could have. But it's in our headlines every day while the session goes on, so we're going to bring it up.
Brian, keep in mind, this is the state legislature that's responsible for this, not the congressional delegation. These are people that have been elected by the citizens of Louisiana to help to govern the state. This is one of their jobs. And, I have no doubt this is ultimately going to get kicked to the courts, but you got to give some respect and deference to the people that we all voted to elect to represent us in the Louisiana legislature. And I think they're a good group of folks there, and I think they're working hard. And like we both discussed, it's really disappointing to see this devolve into, candidly, just kind of unconstructive areas.
No, absolutely. And in the meanwhile, you do have to look at it on a physical map as well, and that's where that's where the argument gets lost every time. You can hear 33% of the population, but when you physically look at it on a map, actually drawing it up gets very difficult without being really creative.
Yeah, you're right. And keep in mind, back when there was when Louisiana had 7 seats in the House of Representatives, today we only have 6. Right. They drew a second majority-minority district that Cleo Field represented, and that was thrown out by the Supreme Court because, just like you said, they said that it was this district that was gerrymandered, and so now we're down to 6 congressional seats, and I know people can say, hey, 1/3 the states, you need 1/3 the seats, and that's really easy to say, and it's a good little talking point, but everybody who has spent any time looking at this knows that it's much more complicated than that. But I'll say it again, I have full respect for the Louisiana legislature. I have no doubt that they're going to be able to work through this and come out with maps that make sense.
Congressman Garret Graves is our guest. Got to move from our backyard to the rest of the world. What's going on in Washington, D.C. when it comes to looking at Russia and Ukraine right now, and what's in the near future?
Brian, look, this is a huge issue right now, and I know a lot of times, myself included, say, look, I care about what's going on in Ruston more than Russia, and it's really easy to say that, but you start looking at the geopolitics here. So number one, we were crunching some numbers right now as a result of Biden administration's energy policies. They literally are shutting down new production in the Gulf of Mexico, yet in the same breath, we are importing an additional $22 million a day worth of oil from Vladimir Putin. Then, he takes that $22 million, turns around and uses it toward Ukraine aggression. I mean, we're causing these problems in the United States for ourselves as a result of flawed energy and climate policies. Whenever their oil's dirtier, their gas is dirtier, so you're not helping the environment, and you're not helping your national security and geopolitics in that region. If Putin cuts off gas into Ukraine, we're not going to have the excess production in the United States to be able to backfill that because they have shut down new production in the United States. I mean, and they're putting all sorts of regulatory and cost increases there. These policies just don't make sense, which would end up impacting the United States because of global energy prices. I mean, just really short-sighted policies that end up coming back and hitting us in the back of the head here, and incredibly disappointing. This isn't rocket science, and we're doing this to ourselves.
Are we going to be involved, like on a military level?
I think as a result of our NATO commitments and the impact that this would have on our European allies, I think that we absolutely would get pulled into military conflict if Russia goes into Ukraine. Now, as you and I have discussed a while back, we've got to be careful about coming in and being the tip of the spear, the lead to every global conflict. I think in this case, we have some European allies that probably have more direct interest than we do. I think they should be the tip of the spear. I think we can provide air support. I think we can provide technology, intelligence, things like that. But I think in this instance, it would be better to have some of those countries kind of playing lead role here. I think it is good that you finally have had President Biden and Chancellor in Germany come out and acknowledge that if Vladimir Putin does invade Ukraine, that they will shut off the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which never should have been approved, which, of course, is a pipeline from Russia into Germany, bringing Russian gas in. Why you would give Vladimir Putin that connection, that economic grip over stronger economic grip over Europe and their energy problems, energy policies. It makes no sense what's going on. But again, it is encouraging to hear President Biden and Germany both come out this week and say that they would shut down the Nord Stream 2 pipeline if Biden invades Ukraine. So, similar to Afghanistan, I believe that a lot of this is unforced errors, and we've all got to get on the same page and and try and keep Putin, try and keep Russia contained. He wants to reassemble, I think, the old USSR, and I mean, just crazy the ego and the activities going on there. And I think we've got to keep them contained and keep stability in Europe. It's important to our economy, global economy, and I think our safety and security in the United States.
The front row seat to watching history repeat itself is just it's equal parts amazing and frightening. Got about 60 seconds left with Congressman Garret Graves. Got to use this 60 seconds to talk about you introducing legislation to prohibit Chinese drone purchases with U.S. grant funding. What got you in on this?
Sure. So I'm the lead Republican on the aviation subcommittee, doing a lot of work on unmanned systems, everything from drones to urban mobile transportation options. And it's become increasingly clear that drones and unmanned systems are going to play a larger role across the United States, across all sorts of economies. And rather than having Chinese, we found, intelligence communities raise strong concerns about the technology. Chinese drones effectively flying all over the United States, potentially collecting intelligence, collecting data on the United States. We need to prohibit them from doing so. The largest market of drones in the United States is a company called DJI. It effectively is partially owned by the Chinese government. Look, we never should put ourselves in a situation where we're going to allow China to be able to collect that type of intelligence against the United States.
He is Congressman Garret Graves. We visit at this time every single week. Congressman, appreciate the time, sir.
Thanks, Brian. Have a great week.
You do the same. We got to take a quick break. Check traffic, come back. We've got the outside in next. Oh, crap. Oh, so tired. Bro, I can't. I mean, I would love to, but I can't. Clay Higgins of Southwest Louisiana is a impediment to federal assistance. Yes, he is. And the problem with that is, even when Trump was in office, he wasn't getting anything then either. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. $7:55 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got CBS News coming your way shortly. One more segment to go in this hour on Mornings with Brian Haldane. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to Congressman Garret Graves for hopping on board for DC Current. I know that was kind of all over the map, literally and figuratively, but sometimes that's just the nature of the segment. As a congressman, he's got a lot of different things that he's got to sound off on a regular basis. I know we went from hurricane protection or hurricane recovery funding to the congressional maps to Ukraine to drones. I mean, that's you don't span a larger breadth than that. Hey, it is still king cake season. The carnival season is rolling on, and Matherns is your headquarters. Matherns is where you go. Matherns has phenomenal king cakes baked in house daily. We are a traditional king cake household in the Haldane house. Matherns has created an exception to that rule. They got two locations, downtown on 3rd Street or Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, right across the street from Tiger Stadium. They've got a wedding cake king cake, and it is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. They've got your traditional as well. They've got the cream cheese filled. They've got the strawberry filled. They've got the Bavarian cream. They've got the chocolate covered, chocolate filled. That one looks glorious as well. And oh, by the way, they're also a full-service grocery store. Yes, they're on campus. No, they're not just for students. Swing by, grab yourself some lunch today. Fantastic, underrated lunch over at Matherns. And knock out your grocery shopping. And don't forget, when we get to parading in another week and a half or so, Matherns is your headquarters there as well. Just like you would for tailgating. We parade the same way we tailgate. Stop by for a couple six-packs of beer. Stop by for some snackies to hit up on the route at either locations of Matherns. Downtown on 3rd or Nicholson Drive, the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. All right, time for the outside end. Let's get it. Starting off in Livingston Parish, where Cynthia Perkins wants a new venue. An attorney for Perkins filed a motion yesterday seeking a change, arguing the former school teacher would not get a fair trial in the parish due to pervasive media coverage of her alleged crimes. Speaking of that pervasive media coverage, attorney Franz Borghardt and I broke this down in the first hour of the show, available on demand at talk1073.com. Heading up to Natchitoches, where Alliance Compressors LLC announced the company's investing $45 million over the next 2 years to expand their compressor assembly facility and keep pace with increased global demand for energy-efficient air conditioning. With the capacity expansion, Alliance is creating 78 direct new jobs with an average annual salary of $47,000. The company's also retaining 520 existing jobs. Over to Ascension Parish, a state police trooper accused of strangling his girlfriend last week had his bond set at $350,000 after a tense hearing to determine if he posed a danger to her. According to the advocate, Trooper Garret Yetman, 28 years old, appeared before Judge Stephen Terrell in an Ascension Parish courtroom Tuesday afternoon, where his girlfriend and another state trooper gave testimony against him. The hearing, known as a Gwen's Law or 313 hearing, is generally reserved for serious domestic violence cases where judges closely consider the safety of the victims before setting or withholding bond. As a condition of his bond, Yetman must stay away from the victim and her family, as well as Trooper Davis and his family. Trooper Davis testified against him. He must relinquish his firearms and undergo a psychiatric evaluation within 30 days. Closing out in Vermilion Parish, a Kaplan man is in the Lafayette Parish Jail, charged with 6 counts of pornography involving a juvenile. 25-year-old Dusty Luquette was arrested on Monday, bond $22,500. The investigation began when an employee from a local cell phone repair shop found a phone that had videos of inappropriate acts between an adult and a juvenile. It was connected back to Dusty. That's the outside in. Let's get you CBS News. Who moved this? Sorry, my little garbage, my little recycling bin. It was moved away from the wall, which meant when I go to shoot my shots, there's a gap. There's a gap there, and I was putting it in between the wall and the recycling bin. Hey, Zendaya's on Good Morning America today. Shake it up, Chicago. Oh, man. Scusi, sorry. So, huh. That's an interesting one. All right. Where are we at here? I don't have anything on this page that I care about. Next page. I'm getting cold again. Why is it only, like, it's not immediately in the show? I don't know. Oh, snap. Ooh. Goodness gravy. Excuse me. Who do I have at 8:15? State Senator Rick Ward. Who's off? Does it say? Does it say who's off? Okay. Yes, please. Hey! Coming up on 806 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. We're going to talk about the bridge. Not the Horace Wilkinson, the 80-year-old new bridge, and definitely not the old bridge, but the potential newer bridge, newest bridge. $500 million has been set aside for it. How are we going to screw this up? As I say it, State Senator Rick Ward enters the building. Come on in. We'll talk with Rick Ward about how do you find a consensus? How do you stop the perfect from getting in the way of the good? That's all coming your way at 8:15. 8:40 this morning, actor Tommy Davidson's going to be on the hotline. He's back on tour, y'all. Live comedy is back. Tommy Davidson is out and about. You might remember him. Look, if you're a child of the 90s like me, you remember him from In Living Color. So, also, longtime stand-up comedian. He's also a recording artist now, too. We'll talk with Tommy Davidson before we're done today. Right now, though, it's the part of the show where Jake takes us back in time. It's time for This Day in History. What's happening, man? Good to see you again. Give us about 7 minutes or so. What? Yeah.
Yes, it is time for This Day in History. Hope you're having a great day so far. We're kicking things off.
It's all right.
I wasn't asking you. I was asking to those tuning in.
Oh.
I know how your day's going so far. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm cold.
Yeah. Chill out. I guess sorry to beat you to it.
Terrible. Terrible.
1540. The first recorded race meet in England. Not that, but...
The first recorded what?
Race meet.
Race meet?
Yeah, where they run. Like,
okay.
Like track and field.
Race
probably.
meet.
Yes.
Okay.
1891. The first shipment of asparagus arrives in San Francisco from Sacramento.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
That deserved to be on the list here.
If tomorrow you say everybody's pee smelled weird, we're gonna leave the show entirely.
1891 tomorrow. No. 1964. The first appearance of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show from New York. It draws 73.7 million television viewers.
Yes, it does.
1986. The 36th NBA All-Star Game, Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. East beats the West 139 to 132. Who was the MVP?
96?
Yes. No, 86.
86. Isaiah Thomas?
Yes, correct.
Why do I know that?
Well, I'm going to quiz you again because 1992, the 42nd NBA All-Star Game in Orlando Arena, Orlando, Florida. West beats the East 153 to 113. Jeez. Who was the MVP of that one?
Magic Johnson.
2 for 2. You got it.
Wow. Okay. I couldn't pass a physics class, but this I know.
Hey, what are you using more nowadays?
Apparently Magic Johnson's trivial info.
Indeed. 1997, in the last event that I have, Fox cartoon series The Simpsons airs its 167th episode. It is the longest-running animated series in cartoon history.
Cool.
That's all the events I have. Yeah, probably.
I mean, as long as they're on, I guess they'll retain their title. They're like the Tom Brady of cartoons.
Pretty much.
As long as they stay out there, but now that he's retired.
Yeah.
You know.
That's all the events I got. You got any for me before I hit the birthdays?
On this day in 1950, Senator Joseph McCarthy claimed he had evidence that there were card-carrying members of the Communist Party in the State Department.
Ah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's all the events. Let's get to the birthdays. First up, Michael B. Jordan turns 35.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hiddleston, 41. Good little birthday section for some Marvel fans. Saquon Barkley turns 25.
Yep.
Joe Pesci, 79 years old.
How does Joe Pesci not make my list for the email that I get, but Mia Farrow does? That makes no sense in my world.
Come on, man. And Charlie Day is 46.
Charlie Day from Always Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And in the new Mario movie that's coming out with Chris Pratt, Jack Black, Michael Key or something. Keegan-Michael Key. That's
Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele. Also, Vladimir Guerrero. Also, John Kruk, former Phillies and Padres first baseman. And born on this day in 1956, one Mookie Wilson.
Ooh.
Yes.
Very nice.
From the New York Mets.
That's all the birthdays. Do you have any deaths for me? Because I do not.
I have two, actually.
Let's hear 'em.
Former Oklahoma head coach Bud Wilkinson. I believe it was 1994 where he passed. And from NFL Films, Ed Sable died on this day in 2015.
Rest in peace to both those mentioned. Let's get to the holidays. We talked about it earlier on the break. It is National Pizza Day.
Yeah, it's pizza day like 6 days out of the year.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I'm pretty sure some of them are pineapple on pizza day, pepperoni pizza day, meat lovers pizza, whatever you like. I'm thinking about pizza now.
Today is just National Pizza Day, but
Yes, just the
we'll
pizza.
keep an eye on that because I think it's going to come up again in a month.
Oh, for sure. It is Chocolate Day.
Okay.
And finally, it is Read in the Bathtub Day.
You know, it's Chocolate Day. I remember this specifically because it was like the second week in November. The second week in November, there was a National Chocolate Day, and I was like, oh, because the sales dropped off after Halloween, after trick-or-treating. And then it picked back up again because somebody's got to have some oversight. There needs to be a national committee on individual honoring days.
Well, technically, this isn't National Chocolate Day. It's just Chocolate Day.
I don't care.
And, build up to Valentine's.
Somebody's got to tighten this up.
I know.
Tighten up.
Absolute anarchy.
It is.
With national holidays. But that is this day in history.
All right, we are due up for a break. When we come back, let's talk about the bridge. How do you prioritize traffic volume versus location versus elevation versus are you too far away or are you too close? We're going to break it all down next and get a little peek at the redistricting session as well. State Senator Rick Ward is in studio next. Oh, you doing good this morning?
I'm doing good, yeah. Just
any traffic on the way over? Hello.
a little bit of slowdown, but
So there is a spot, and I don't know what the narrow down. Like they're gonna have it narrowed down to
Right,
3
to
by the
3,
summer.
yeah.
Which there is a spot along the river that looks absolutely perfect. It's but the problem is once you get past Addis, all this is wetlands, right? Like, how do you just go elevated from 1 all the way to 30?
potentially. I mean, yeah, that's or you mitigate, you do wetlands, the wetlands mitigation. So I don't know, there's possibilities, and that's all the things that are looked at whenever they're trying to land on a location. But probably what's most important is where the Corps and the Coast Guard will actually approve the crossing. So if the only place that's approved is a place where you have to deal with some wetlands, the St. Francisville Bridge, for example, I don't know if it's wetlands or just because of the terrain, but you're elevated for quite a while before you hit the bridge.
I thought that had to do with, like, the slope.
That's what I'm saying. But either way, like, when you're approaching the bridge, along the Mississippi River, chances are you're gonna have to elevate after you hit the levee, or
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, but like the elevation of the Horace Wilkinson Bridge is, I mean, it feels really steep, right? And the Huey P. Long down New Orleans, same thing, scary as hell.
Exactly.
So you're gonna cover a lot of ground due to just natural elevation and not wanting to go up like on a roller coaster. But I mean, and the other part of this is how far down do you go? Like, how close is too close? Is Addis too close?
No, I mean, I think it's more important of what it, regardless of where it crosses, a lot of what happens on the east side is important in terms of as long as you don't send it right back into Baton Rouge.
Right.
So
where's that sweet spot? Yeah.
And that's what all has to be discussed. But I mean, that is what they're trying to figure out. And then if you go too far south, you end up losing vehicles that'll use it.
Right, because their next option is the Sunshine Bridge.
That's right.
So 8:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. All right, let's get down and dirty. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. $500 million being earmarked for a new Mississippi River bridge so we can finally stop calling an 80-year-old bridge the new bridge. Joining us to talk about it, and we'll probably touch a little bit in on the redistricting session as well, State Senator Rick Ward. Rick, welcome back, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Always glad to have you on. Let's swing that around this side. There we go. So we need to talk about what's going into the equation for selecting a new spot for a new bridge. We've got the money earmarked. There's going to be, stuff will be bonded out to come up with the rest of the funding. I have no doubt that the funding will be available. But when you physically look at a map, this is where the hard part kicks in. Connecting Highway 1 with Highway 30 that's the general consensus. That's what everybody wants to do. But when you look at the way the river zigzags back and forth, when you look at the amount of wetlands we have, when you look at what's good on the west side connecting to something that's ideal on the east side, where do these things pair up, man?
Yeah, well, I think that we've known from the past that there's really only a handful of locations, probably really 3, where not only do you have the factors you just discussed, but also probably more importantly, you have where the Coast Guard and the Corps will actually approve a structure going across the river. And the reason for that is barge traffic, ship traffic, all those sorts of things. So all that factors in, and once you narrow that down, then you can really start having the discussions about what's going to move the most traffic, how it affects in terms of cost because of the wetlands, or maybe how long of an approach you would have to have. All those sorts of things factor in, and so you've got to weigh the most cost effective along with the one that'll move the most traffic, and then try and narrow it down from there.
Let's start with the barge traffic and whatnot. Has the Corps, have they given out any kind of hints, inklings, what they're looking at when it comes to barge? Like what would eliminate a spot right from jump?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think how narrow the river could be in a particular bend in the river. So you want to do your best to not be directly in the curve of the river, because now you've got barges or ships that are not only having to navigate that bend, which especially in high water situations can be a little treacherous. If you throw bridge pilings in the middle of that, then it just creates a whole nother thing for navigation.
Yes.
So you want to do your best to not land on a location, and they probably wouldn't allow it, that is directly in the curve of a river.
Then you just eliminated from Plaquemine to White Castle. Anything south of White Castle, you're too close to Donaldsonville anyway, and too far away from Port Allen and the heart of where we want this thing in the first place. So this is awesome. Let's keep narrowing down here. We might solve the whole darn thing this morning. You've just eliminated anything south of Plaquemine due to the narrowness, and then you got a couple of natural curves, and then when it spits back out to where you'd hit that spot again, you've already got the Sunshine Bridge.
Right. Well, and it can be narrow, but you don't want if it's in the river bend, you don't want that bend to be really narrow. So in some cases, if it's a straight shot, a little bit narrow is better, maybe from a cost standpoint for the structure itself.
Fewer pilings in between and whatnot. So if we're looking at north of Plaquemine, we probably should be south of Addis, because north of Addis, now you're talking about we're right on top of the Horace Wilkinson Bridge. So what have you actually done other than just create new lanes?
That's right.
So in between Addis and Plaquemine, we run into a problem of having this big old curve right in the middle. How do we negate geography?
Well, you can't. You just have to narrow it down to the best situation possible that can be approved. And I think that those locations are out there, and maybe it affects. Maybe you have to shift it around a little bit based on your approaches and things like that. But to your point, if you start moving it too far north, then you're really not solving the problem because you're just dumping traffic right back into Baton Rouge.
Right.
And so it's this fine line between being too far north where you're really not solving the problem, or too far south where at that point not enough vehicles are utilizing it, and so from that standpoint you're not solving the problem either. So I have full confidence that the engineers and everybody that are working on it are going to land on the correct spot. And I know the timeline at this point is to get it down to 3 potential locations in the summer, but that can mean or by the summer, that can mean a number of things. That could actually be that they have it narrowed down to one particular location that it could cross the river, but maybe 3 different approaches to that location on either side. So it's moving along faster than maybe it sounds. And part of that is because 15 years ago they knew what the 3 locations were,
right?
That it was possible. For technical reasons, they were forced to start over and do the whole process again, which is what frustrates everyone.
Side note, yeah, that is the most frustrating, and it's the one that I'm most worried about. Is from the start of the process to the end of the process, having a time frame where you have to start the process back over again. We've seen that too many times. This is, look, I know I'm super cynical about the whole thing. I get that, but I've repeated this joke, and I'm going to continue to repeat it until it's buried in the ground. I feel like Charlie Brown going to kick the football. But I want to move forward with the whole thing. So let's keep exploring here. Your side of the river, the west side of the river, is so much easier than this side of the river. You have dozens of locations where you're like, oh, hey, here's a great launching point. Here's a great launching point. And I mean, from everything from, like I said, from Addis to Plaquemine, you don't have the low-lying areas except for that one little area where the river makes that big curve. But you've got a number of great launching points. Landing it on this side of the river seems to be the harder part. So it's looking more and more like we're going to be elevated a lot more, all the way up to Highway 30, all the way up to Nicholson. What does that do to cost?
Well, I mean, of course, it adds significant cost, but I think what you have to keep in mind when you're looking at a $1.5 billion or so project, if in order to get it done, an extra elevated portion costs you another $100 million, that is not. It's not like you're taking a $200 million project and then finding out we've got to elevate this whole section, so now it's a $300 million project.
Right.
I mean, in terms of the total cost of, leaving I-10 on the west side and arriving at I-10 on the east side somewhere, that cost would be significant, but in the total amount that's going to have to be spent to get this done, it's not a game changer by any means.
That's good to know. That is good to know, because I will not be shocked if that's the way it plays out, is that you've got to be elevated for a certain portion. And I don't see them going back to I-10 up until they get to Gonzales. Once it lands on Highway 30, widening out Highway 30 all the way out to Tanger Mall, putting you back on the interstate at that exit seems like the right move. It's also, and I hesitate to use this word because I know it's a bad word, it's also the first phase of a loop. Like, inevitably, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the whole picture, so we've got the 415 connector that is going to be a puzzle piece to all of these things. If you could utilize that as the break-off point for I-10, and then extend that on all the way until you arrive at the new bridge, go over the river, 4-lane 30 all the way to Gonzales where it could hit there, then you would really have more of a southern bypass around the outskirts of Baton Rouge than just a bridge where local people cross back and forth.
And then all you got to do when talking about overall transportation is connecting 10 back to 12.
That's right.
So you get Ascension and Livingston on the same page and just say, hey, just get this part done. That's all we need.
That's it.
And then before you know it, traffic is going to look 100% different here in Baton Rouge. What kind of volume are we talking about? What kind of volume are we looking at for, like, the breaking point here for the necessity of this bridge?
Well, in terms of traffic volume?
Yeah.
I think the initial hope is that, or thought, is that you would move around 35,000 vehicles a day, maybe more, off of this, what we call the new bridge.
Right.
And so, that's significant. If you have about 100,000 a day currently that cross it, if you can reroute 30 or 35,000 of them, that's a significant change. To your point just a moment ago about eventually connecting it to 12, I believe some of the studies in the past show that when you finally do that, or if you do that, the traffic count goes up significantly more, because you have so many vehicles when they get to the 10-12 split that are actually taking 12.
Right.
And so if you can create that or make that connection, then you really can up the ante in terms of how many vehicles you can move.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because when it comes to, if you're looking at traffic that's just passing through, not the guys clocking in and out the plants, looking to get back to this side of the river, over to the other side of the river, but when you look at, if you're moving from, all points west to all points east, and if you're looking at getting off the interstate, doing an accident or whatever, is it still worth your time to fight through it or to get off and try to go around? If you can connect back to 12, you've changed that equation dramatically. State Senator Rick Ward is our guest. Scott, I want to spend 1 or 2 more minutes on the bridge before checking in on the redistricting session, and that's to ask about timelines. 3 locations by the summer, narrowed down to 1 location by, end of the year?
Well, I would hope it could be that quickly. I know this, so the firm that is in place and working on that, narrowing it down, it was a 4-year contract. They're well into they're over 2 years into that.
Okay.
And so Jay Campbell has been pushing really hard. He's the chair of the Road and Bridge Authority that has kind of headed all this up to this point. The goal is that it would be done prior to the end. Well, by contract, it has to be done prior to the end of that 4 years.
Sure.
The hope is that it's done sooner than that. But really, once you get it to a certain point, you can start moving forward with some other things as well. When they get to the point where they know that it's pretty set in stone where the approaches are going to go and things like that, then you can start moving forward with acquiring the property and things like that to make it all line up. So from a timeline standpoint, without trying to over or underestimate the time frame, no doubt that part's going to be done in the next year and a half.
Okay.
That's just the amount of time that's left on the contract. From that point, or really before that point, then you can start moving into working on all the public-private partnerships and things like that, that not only the money we passed last year towards the bridge, but also if we're able to hold on to the $500 million, it really can speed things up because you've got so much more interest and the ability to move a lot better on something that's this massive.
Yep. I was looking to move on to the redistricting, but you brought up a new question within that answer. If we're able to hold on to the $500 million?
Well, so the governor proposed that in his budget.
Okay.
We have to go through the legislative process.
Yeah.
In order, our delegation here, the Baton Rouge regional delegation, has to go do a good job of holding on to the 500 or as close to possible as holding on to that full amount as we can through the session, because you'll have other regions that want to take money and put it towards things in their region as well.
I would imagine it would be the Baton Rouge delegation combined with the New Orleans delegation, because this helps them, combined with all points west as well. It's North Louisiana's
that's right. And
difficult
what you
sell
have to
here.
do, like we've done in the past with other things, you have to build regional coalitions to try and see what's most necessary. And no one will question that this is the most necessary project, most necessary statewide project. This has statewide implications. It's not just for our region.
Got about a minute and a half left. I want to ask you about the redistricting session and building some of those coalitions. it's looking more and more like a congressional map is just going to end up in the courts. Is that safe to say?
I think so. I mean, I think that's the unfortunate part about what we've been working through the last week and a half is it feels like the conversation has been less substantive in terms of how do we create a map where people can be best represented in terms of how the maps lay out, and it's been more geared toward either protecting ourselves from litigation or creating a record for the litigation that's sure to happen. And so to me that takes away a little bit from what our true goal should be.
And the true goal would be based off of geography and population, and that's it. But we have to factor a number of other things into that. Speaking of population, what has your district seen since the last redistricting? Growth, enough growth to make a difference?
Some areas that have grown, some that have lost a little bit. It wasn't. I only needed about 4,000 or 5,000 people in order to stay within that margin of error.
Okay.
Now, for purposes of how others around had gained population or maybe lost population, the parishes that District 17 will represent have had to shift a little bit, but overall the heart of the district remains the same.
He is State Senator Rick Ward. I appreciate you hopping in. When we get past the congressional map and then the state senate maps, there's going to be other fights, if you will. Are you seeing a whole lot of consensus or a whole lot of digging in of heels to battle?
Like on the other maps that are out
there?
Yeah,
Bessie, Judicial, PSC.
The Bessie and the PSC maps seem to be moving their way through a little bit easier and less contentious than the others. I think if at some point, and I believe today, they will start moving Supreme Court races, Supreme Court districts, I think that one will become more contentious along the lines of maybe the congressional or legislative maps.
Last one before I get you out of here. It goes back to the bridge. Sorry. I had one more on it. I couldn't remember it, and I thank whoever texted me. Tolls. This will be a toll road?
I believe so. I mean, there's really, at this point, I don't see a way around it, but I do believe that it's warranted and necessary. And the good part about tolling a bridge like this is the toll would in large part be paid by pass-through traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully when you're bypassing a lot of that traffic, you free up the other bridges that are free. And so the local folks that cross back and forth, they're not having to go pay that toll. They can if they want, but in large part you hope that the traffic that's traveling through is taking the brunt of that.
He is State Senator Rick Ward. I appreciate the insight on the redistricting session, but more importantly, this bridge, it's got to get done. And I know you have the utmost level of interest in it as well. So I appreciate you stopping in this morning.
No, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Always. He is State Senator Rick Ward. We got a break. We're late for news. We blew right past CBS News. I don't care. This was more important. Let's get our local news, traffic, weather. Actor Tommy Davidson's coming up next. Oh, yeah. I don't care how granular we get on the air about that. If we narrow down to this is this X marks the spot. It is of that level of importance.
It is. And the big thing for me, I mean, I'll have bills and stuff this session, but this will be my top priority, because if we miss this opportunity, look, there's a long-term funding source in the infrastructure bill that was passed last year, but so kind of the goal with putting the $500 million in a fund is we have the next 5 years with the federal infrastructure bill. We could utilize that 500 in the same way that we did with the LA1 South, and use it to draw down more federal dollars. So maybe you turn that 500 into 800 or 900 by using it to draw down federal dollars, and we've got about a 5-year window to do that.
Okay.
And if you do that, then all of a sudden, if you've got $800 or $900 million, and then you put towards the addition of the other $30 or so million a year that can go to pay the bonds and whatever else from last year, all those things greatly reduce the level of toll that you have to put on it. That's before you ever get to talking about how much faster things can move. look, if we can get, my goal is we have a public-private partnership in place in the next 2 to 3 years. And if you have that, then if you had that in place in the next 2 to 2.5 years, 3 years from now, you could be moving.
Yeah.
In terms of getting this done.
Which, the thought that we'd be 3 years away from thinking about breaking ground. Like, I don't know.
Well, you know, the hard part for us at the state level is so many of the impediments that keep you from moving faster. It's federal regulations.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other part is like the Corps is going to come back with a location where it's best served for river traffic, best served for accessibility. We're going to come back with a location that's best served for actual like on the road traffic, and then it's going to be like the spotted barking frog has its natural habitat underneath there, and we're all going to get screwed.
Right.
Like I don't.
I think the good thing, and I did not know this till I met with Sean the other day, Sean Wilson. You can have the bridge location that crosses, and then you can be creative with the approaches that fixes a lot of the concerns in terms of communities and wetlands and spotted frogs and all that. You know, if this is the location where it physically has to cross the river, and the ideal situation is you take off and go this way, but you can't because of some historic grave site or something.
Right. Which
Okay.
there are some.
Yeah,
I mean,
there are. Well, okay, so for, you know, maybe cost a few more dollars, but you go out this way and swing around it. So it really is, at least on the west side, and then in the right locations on the east side, there's lots of opportunities to have different approaches and things.
Dude, the west side y'all side is the easy side. It's easy. I mean, and you've got willing participants across the board.
No doubt.
And the creative landing on this is going to be important when it comes to buying up land.
No doubt.
Because there's going to be somebody that digs their feet in and say, screw you, I'm not selling. And, like, before you get into eminent domain, they're going to try to raise their price. And, no, screw it. We'll just curve here. We'll just turn.
Exactly.
Like the way the Huey P. Long comes down in New Orleans, it comes down on that curve, you know? So, I don't know. We'll get it.
Well,
we'll get it.
I've got a short period of time left, but that's going to remain my priority. So,
well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Enjoyed it.
Always.
Hey, good to see you again.
8:37, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling along. We are going to get you to actor Tommy Davidson in a little bit. Thanks again to State Senator Rick Ward. Fantastic information. I was telling Rick during the break, like, I don't care if we break down block by block where this thing needs to launch and land. It's that important for our area. It is that important for our area. And, looking at the map, if I had my choice of just everywhere along the way, just south of Addis, boom. Just south of Addis on the west side, and then you've got a number of wetlands on the east side. If you could bypass those, it gets you back towards Highway 30, but at the same time, you got to cut through an entire subdivision to get there. So you go a little bit further south. Well, now you're in that big curve in the river by L'Auberge. So what do you do there? We'll get it. There is a magic spot somewhere within there that makes sense. It's just a matter of, are we good here? Okay, no, let's take 2 steps further south. Are we good here? No, let's take 2 steps further south. Hey, actor Tommy Davidson is going to be on the hotline in about 1 minute from right now, which gives me enough time to remind you about lacashclaim.org. lacashclaim.org, the state treasurer, John Schroeder. He has moved the unclaimed property program to make this more efficient, easier, and just more user-friendly from your perspective. Check out lacashclaim.org. If you've had a deposit at a previous apartment or anything like that, it's all available. So, lacashclaim.org. There's $900 million just sitting there waiting, and it could be yours. You just got to take advantage of it at lacashclaim.org. So my mom had money sitting over there. It's under $100, but still, it's money sitting there. You'd have under $25, or you could be, they had a guy in New Orleans had $250,000 just sitting in that account waiting on him. All right. He's been a longtime stand-up comedian, absolute legend of stand-up comedy. You, if you're like me and a child of the 90s, you remember him from In Living Color, maybe Robert Townsend's Partners in Crime, acting career as well. Well, he's back on tour now in stand-up comedy, and he joins us right now. He is Tommy Davidson. Tommy, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, sir?
Is the love.
Tommy, you there?
Yes. Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? He's still in the previous interview. They went long. That's on them. We'll hit him back up in about 30 seconds. Can you put him on, put him in queue, and listen? That way you can just point to me when it's time to go. So, yeah, it started with Robert Townsend's Partners in Crime, then moved over to In Living Color. And honestly, if you've never seen him as a stand-up comic, then you're missing out. He's actually a recording artist now as well. Got a new song out called Sweet Reunion with saxophonist Dave Koz. I want to ask Tommy about stand-up comedy, like the nature and evolution of stand-up comedy. I also want to ask him a lot about In Living Color. I know it's not breaking headlines today, but like I'm 45 years old. That was the heart of my teenage years. And changed the game for a lot of folks when it came to just how we view television. I mean, it was part of that era where everybody was moving into a new spot. With the Fox network launching, and we talked about The Simpsons just a little while ago, and this was in that wheelhouse as well. All right, I'm told we're good to go. He is actor and comedian Tommy Davidson. Tommy, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, man?
Thank you, man. Where are you? Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Yes, sir.
Woo!
So you're back out on tour now, right?
Say that again?
You are back out on tour now, right?
Back out on tour, me and Mike Epps and the comedy clubs around the country. You know, the tour never stops, actually.
What's it like being back? Well, you said it never stops. I mean, did you take a little COVID vacation? I mean, obviously we couldn't get together in person and whatnot. So what was that like? What's it like getting back out there in this new normal?
I think we all took a vacation on now. But I started performing as early as May after the pandemic.
Is it tough to knock the rust off the shoes and get back into the swing of things, or you were just chomping at the bit so much?
I got lucky. You know, a lot of the clubs out there in the country were hurting. They were facing getting flushed down the toilet and going out of business. And they asked me to come in and do some shows, and I did. Sometimes there'd be 60 people in the audience, 30. But that lasted probably about 5 or 6 months. Just going out there, you know, plastic everywhere and masks everywhere. But I think people needed it. They needed comedy to get through those hard times. And I needed it because I needed to see what the country was really going through.
And it's been, it has hit everywhere simultaneously as well. The tour is with Mike Epps right now. For those that are unfamiliar with your stand-up show, what do you bring to the table? What can they expect from seeing Tommy Davidson live?
I'll expect the unexpected always. You know, you know, you can go from my impressions to my singing to anything. I can you ask somebody who's watched my show. It's like watching Minority Report. If you saw that movie, you know. It's just an adventure.
Everything from Spanish TV to I remember a bit you had when this was during the Obama tenure, and you were talking about the White House chef. I mean, it's all over the place. Tommy Davidson's our guest now. A lot of folks got introduced to you back in the late '80s, early '90s with Robert Townsend's Partners in Crime and In Living Color. Yeah, dude, Partners in Crime was an absolute staple. But In Living Color was probably a broader stage as well. That was a turning point, I think, for comedy in America and putting, not to get too serious about it, but putting African-American entertainment in a bunch of white living rooms. Did it feel like that at the time? Was there any kind of recognition of where we were in this country socially, not just making people laugh?
Yeah, we were a lot of lot further ahead of it than we thought, because the comedy that came into the white homes they already knew about. You know, blacks have been here for like 400 years. So, you know, and we've been interacting with humor and music ever since. It was just a time where it was shown on TV. The black side of the color spectrum was shown in comedy and in sketch. It was really revolutionary. If you watched Richard Pryor's show from the 70s, it was a reflection of that had already started. He had Robin Williams, Paul Mooney, you know, all these people, of David Letterman, I think, on his show. So our cast was majority black, but, you know, it wasn't really about black or white. It was called In Living Color because it was about all colors.
No, absolutely. It felt like it introduced it on such a large. This wasn't like listening to a Richard Pryor album with my friends. This was in the living room with the parents. I mean, it was generational.
Right. I'll give you. You know what? You're right. We delivered it right. We delivered it home.
Absolutely.
We were like Grubhub. Yep. Not as expensive, but
well, no upcharge for In Living Color, and yeah, it was about all colors. And there was Jim Carrey was on the cast. His career panned out okay. We got Tommy Davidson as our guest for a couple more minutes here. Tommy, I see you're a recording artist as well. I didn't know you did music, sir.
I didn't either until now. No. It's something that I wanted to do for the longest time. So recording the music made me a recording artist. What made me a recording artist was to become an artist at it, which I did over the years. And then there's an art to that business too. And somehow I was able to get through all of those barriers that were there. I would call it an obstacle course or Rubik's Cube. And now I'm talking to you about it. You know, I get this song throughout the social media, strata, into radio. That was as tough as getting into stand-up.
Really? Even with having an established career for a couple of decades, even with all that under your belt, it's still tough to break down those barriers?
Yeah, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, once you make the song and you get it out in the right places, it's like the elections, you know, people have to kind of vote for it, you know?
So the new single's called Sweet Reunion. It features Dave Koz, saxophonist Dave Koz. It's got a throwback sound to it. I assume that is you're leaning on a lot of your influences there.
Yeah, no, you know, it's a borrow from Kenny Loggins' song. Kenny Loggins tune from I think it's a long time ago, but he's been one of my favorites for years, and along with everybody, I've been influenced by everyone from Earth, Wind and Fire, Phil Collins, Hall & Oates, to the Carpenters, to Led Zeppelin, to Kansas and Boston and Chicago. Those were all groups.
That is not where I was expecting that to go at all. Tommy Davidson, I know you got to get on to the next hit real quick, but I got to ask you, is it more comedy in the future or more music in the future? Have you been bit by a new bug here, or can we expect Tommy Davidson to keep us laughing?
I think they all come together. I think this is I'm getting into the years of the giant, you know, where you know, I combine all of the resources that I have creatively and express them. You know, I'm like Dorothy when she got with those three cats and just started dancing down that yellow brick road.
If that's the name of the show when it comes out, then I'm totally claiming that you launched it right here. He is Tommy Davidson. Look, I know you got to get. I appreciate a couple minutes of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We ran a minute and a half over. I didn't even get to anything. Like we were gonna break. Oh man, that was just way too fast. So he's got a Super Bowl event in Santa Monica tomorrow night that's going to be available online. He's also Tommy Davidson, Kayvon Thibodeau from the Oregon Ducks, and Marcus Williams from the Saints are going to be honored tomorrow at Redbird in downtown Los Angeles for a campaign to protect California kids. We didn't get to any of that. Anyway, If you're not familiar with his work, go look up Robert Townsend's Partners in Crime. It was the beginning of it all. And then it went into In Living Color from there. Jake was asking me before the show, because, Jake's obviously of a different generation, but which one is Tommy Davidson? And I'm like, well, he wasn't one of the Wayans brothers, and he wasn't Jim Carrey. So that narrows it down to just him and David Alan Grier, both of whom are just remarkably funny. All right, we got a break for Your Money Now. When we come back, we got one more segment to go on the air, 2 more segments to go on YouTube. We'll catch up next. Man, that sucked. That absolutely sucked. His connection sucked. He was 2 minutes late to begin with, and then his connection sucked, and oh well. So, side note, that wasn't supposed to happen. We got left out of the original lineup. They added an extra hour on the front end, so I appreciated him getting in at all. But damn it, I would rather just do a segment than whatever. Bees what it bees, y'all. Still worth posting though. There you go. Galen says, moving along faster than it sounds. Nothing about the new bridge is moving fast. I know. Well, it's a relative term. It moves fast like a glacier, right? So, Anna says, fix the I-10 bottleneck first. This is fixing the I-10 bottleneck. The best way to fix the I-10 bottleneck is to take traffic out of it. Galen says that I missed the redistricting comments. We had literally 2 minutes on redistricting. Rick is not, or Senator Ward, his role in the redistricting session is basically check in and make sure nobody's obliterated your own district. So. Rick says he's not going to be in the Senate that much longer. I'm wondering when he's going to be termed out, and I wonder what he's going to do next. All right. So at 9:04, actor Aidan Quinn's going to be on the hotline. He's been in a million different things from he was late 90s I'm looking through some of his stuff. I'm going to ask him about his new movie, which is called Blacklight. It's a new thriller. Liam Neeson's in it. Going to ask him about some of the older stuff that he's done. And working through the pandemic, as I always seem to ask about working through the pandemic. It's been an ongoing topic for sure. You know, that's Ireland. Filming locations. Ireland. Oh, what's happening?
Beautiful. Oh, thank you. You off to court today or what? Do what? You look like you're going to court.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
You know it's radio, right?
Do what?
You know, do you have a job after this? Oh, you got the cameras on.
YouTube, baby. It's all YouTube.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. How you been?
Nice, great.
What you got you up here today?
Oh, picking up some trade.
Okay.
Free food, baby.
Oh. Some things will never change. .856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Thanks again to Tommy Davidson. You never know with those. Like Tommy, like I've been a huge fan of his for a long, long time, right? And when they schedule out those interviews, sometimes they're scheduled through a booking agency, just like the one we're going to have on YouTube as soon as the show is over with. I should say 4 minutes after the show is over with. So you never know. Bad connection. The previous interview ran long. You try and maintain a little decorum amongst professionals, and that, like, I want to get out on time so he can get to the next interview on time. And if I have to sacrifice a question or two, I'm going to. And that's what I did today, even though obviously the jerk in front of me didn't. Whatever. Hey, we've only got about 2 minutes left here. There's one more topic I wanted to cover for sure. Senator Cassidy doing work up on Capitol Hill right now, work that would actually make Dave Ramsey proud.
The College Transparency Act, we call it the CTA, passed the House of Representatives as part of a larger package. The CTA ensures that students, families will have clear, understandable information when they compare colleges, like buying a car. If you're looking at a new car, you're going to go to Carfax, Consumer Reports, Kelley Blue Book, other things to help you make sure you're getting value out of the investment. We want CTA to make picking a college be the same.
What?
It's particularly important. As college costs and student debt climb, students should have the facts before they choose a school and a curriculum. That's simple. A student should be able to log on, easily look at how much debt they're going to end up with, what's their earning potential after enrolling in that curriculum at that school, and what is their likelihood to graduate. We feel that this is the least a student and their family deserve. It's a popular bill. It passed in the House and has 1/3 of the Senate signed on as co-sponsors. Over 150 organizations have endorsed, including the University of Louisiana System, LSU, Louisiana Community and Technical College System, and the New Orleans Youth Alliance. It now goes to a conference committee where the House and the Senate reconcile their two different versions of the bill, and we will push that this be part of the final product.
Awesome. Awesome. Transparency is never a bad thing. And when you're talking about college kids, impressionable college kids, and worthless degrees, yeah, I said it, worthless degrees, when you could look at on paper, here's the amount of debt you're going to take on, and here's what you could potentially earn. When you could look at on paper, you're going to spend in the greater part of your working life paying back what you've borrowed. To me, this is so much more valuable than canceling student debt. It's preventing future generations from making the same mistake. And like I said, it's legislation that would make Dave Ramsey proud. Knowing what you're getting before you go in and knowing, do I want to take this on? I don't know. We'll explore it more later on. Right now, we got to go on air. Stick around on YouTube. We're not even close to being done. Fox News Rundown's next. All right. So, YouTube, we're going to keep it here for 1 minute. as we got actor Aidan Quinn coming up in just a little bit. We'll end up playing this back later on air, but for now, it's going to be just a YouTube exclusive. And Jake's going to get the board all flipped around and whatnot, and we'll keep going. So... Gotcha.
It's Aiden
Quinn, Quinn. I'm hoping he's got like a super thick Irish accent.
What's the thing you put at the bottom here?
Ginger Z. She's not until like 11:30. You don't have to worry about her. She's the meteorologist from Good Morning America. She's got a new book out. Yeah. It's she's on the screen like throughout the show. So cool, thank you. Excellent. I cannot find the filming location on this. Okay, so as best I could tell, Aidan Quinn has never worked in Louisiana. I went through it all last night, and I figured I'd go through it again here, and I'm not getting anywhere. In the meanwhile, what's good, YouTube? Hey, tomorrow's going to be a deep dive into the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry and what they've got going on. I didn't get a chance to fully promote tomorrow's show, but Lobby has their annual conference, their big luncheon and whatnot. I'll be there doing the whole show from there. We'll still have Crime Stoppers. Patty G is going to take a day off, but we'll still have Crime Stoppers and a cavalcade of guests rolling through. In fact, as soon as we're done today, I get to learn how to do it. Have not yet done the traveling YouTube yet. November of 2020, I was able to broadcast the show on Facebook, but Facebook was a hell of a lot easier. I could like literally do it from my phone. So this will be a new experience, to say the least. There he is.
This is producer.
All right, YouTube, y'all ready?
Wonderful. He's ready?
Yep.
Tape. Okay. Out at 9/11.
9/11. We're good to go? All right. We're all set? Good morning, Aiden. You there? There
All
he is.
right, here is Aiden Quinn.
Excellent. Aiden, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm super. Jake, we're rolling? All right, excellent. Joined right now by actor Aiden Quinn. He's the star of the new film Blacklight. Also going to talk a little Teddy Roosevelt as well, but let's lead with the headlines. Aiden Quinn, welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh no, glad to have you on here. Glad to have so much to talk about. I mean, we're coming out of the pandemic, or it appears we're coming out of the pandemic. So everybody's back to work. We might touch on that a little bit towards the back end. But let's start with Blacklight. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at a great action popcorn movie with great character work from Liam, wonderful actors in it, and a lot of fun. Sit back and enjoy a lot of action. And I play the head of the FBI who believes the country's going to hell in a handbasket and adopts some measures that maybe cross the line in Liam Neeson's character's point of view anyway. So then we have to go to battle. So it's a lot of fun.
I mean, you're crossing lines with Liam Neeson. That's that's never easy.
So guess who wins?
Oh? I mean, no spoilers, right?
No. I mean, it's great fun. It's great fun to get to go up against my buddy Liam, and in this film, it's fun.
It's you see your buddy Liam. Y'all are friends off camera because your careers have walked very similar genres, if you will. What's the ins and outs like?
Yeah, we've done 3 films. Yeah, we've done 3 films together. And Michael Collins, we played best friends.
Yep.
Harry Boland and Michael Collins are best friends, and yeah, we've known each other for a long time. We were in the mission together way back when I was 25 years old. So yeah, wow. 37 years we've known each other. Yeah,
that is quite the stretch. Blacklight, an action thriller, but you've really spanned all over the board. Do you have a favorite genre that you really like to tackle?
I just think anything that's really well written. That my genre would be drama, probably. Sure. This Is My Father is probably one of my favorite films that I did. An Irish film, which was a drama. But I don't really mind whatever, as long as it's well written and you're working with good people. That's what it's all about. Good storytelling. That's all it is.
Exactly, and storytelling is important, and actually, it's going to take us to our next topic, and that is you're tackling the role of Theodore Roosevelt. The American Guest is coming to HBO Max. Tell us all about this one.
Oh my God, this was incredible. I mean, he is the most extraordinary political figure in American history, without a doubt. Nobody comes close to him. What he did and what he does. So it was an honor of my life to get to play this character. We shot in the Amazon, in the jungle. It was mostly about his exploring the unexplored parts of the Amazon with a famous Brazilian explorer. And then there's a lot of flashbacks to his time as president and his battles with J.P. Morgan and for workers' rights and all sorts of things. But, he was the first environmentalist, He was not afraid to go to war. He was a war hero. And yet he won the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, he was an extraordinary man. Would read a book to 3 books a day. A remarkable man. And gave a speech after being shot while bleeding. He spoke for 80 minutes and finished his speech and then went to the hospital. I mean, they don't make them like that anymore.
I don't think they ever did. I think he broke the mold. There wasn't a mold for him to break. So let's take you back to the question about genre. Do you find it more fascinating to play somebody who was real or somebody who was written?
Well, when it's someone like Theodore Roosevelt, I mean, there's so much rich material. I could have taken 50 years to study it all. But so that is a fascinating. I love the homework of it. I love the digging in of it. If it's a fictional character, then you are creating so the backstory in that. And there's very few of them that have as rich a background as a character like Theodore Roosevelt would have. So it depends, but I think I would go with the Theodore Roosevelt one for now.
The exception and not the rule, to be sure. So Blacklight comes out Friday. American Guest is going to be available on HBO Max. What's next for you?
I got the pleasure of doing the 500th episode of SBU with Mariska Hargitay and crew, and they were just great to work with. And they've asked me to come back and do, I think, the finale of the season in April. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm just looking for the next journey.
I mean, that's quite the spectrum there. You go from action thriller with Liam Neeson to Teddy Roosevelt to SVU, and you were on Elementary. I mean, so you've been in that realm before. That from the drama series before. How do you pack up and unpack with the different characters and whatnot? They all bring something different to the table. They all bring a different style. Well, not just style, but the way you approach them as well. How do you open up and close up on those things?
Well, usually it's quite easy for me to walk away. When a thing is done, it's done. It's just done, and it's time to walk away. That's the way the universe designed it, so you just go with it. With Theodore Roosevelt, it's a little bit different. He doesn't leave me. He doesn't. I still literally, this is going to sound strange, I still talk to him out loud sometimes. Just because it was such an inspiration, and I don't think he'll ever leave me getting to play that part and learn about his life. I'm still reading some of the books about him, I'm still delving in. So usually it's easy to leave. It's just the time it's over, move on, but not him.
I feel like you're hinting at what's next right there. I mean, there's a million stories. I'm a huge Teddy Roosevelt fan as well. There's a million stories to unpack right there. Would this be something in the future for you as well?
Well, it would have to be, after his time coming back from the Amazon, because, he didn't live that long after. Right. And I am of an age where I can't go back and play him in his 30s or 40s, So, although I did for this one, some periods when he was in his 40s. So, yeah, it would have to be finding something for after he came back from the Amazon, but I would be very open to that, yeah.
Blacklight starts Friday in theaters. He is Aidan Quinn. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Always. And the beeps meant it was time to go. That was not accidental. Hey, look, I could have done that with Tommy Davidson as well, but, any hoosers. Yeah, I'll be live from the Crown Plaza tomorrow for the LABI annual conference. Have a cavalcade of guests rolling through, and we will see you then. Later on YouTube.